Welcome back, Smite fans. This is Smite Challenger Circuit. We're still here in the North American side of everything. We just got to watch Tiburones get a nice 2-0 victory over the Herculean Hoofs. That's a big one, and that could shake up some of the standings. So we got Sturdy Artisans and Sleekness, the number 3 and 4 seeds. Coming up in this matchup is going to be our final set of the day of 3. It's J Mac Tucker and Aggro joining me this time around. So Aggro, it turns out I didn't get the memo. Everybody wore nice plain colored shirts, and I'm the only one who wore any kind of graphic on the shirt.
Well, yeah, but your shirt's way cooler than all of ours, so it doesn't matter.
That is true. That is true. In fact, I think the only same color one would be the one that you and Dave both wore. So it would have been, we would have had triplets going there. But game number 3, or set number 3 of our day, taking a look at the schedule, we had Goodnight Nick get a 2-0 over Pandemonium, a big set for them this morning. The Herculean Hooves falling to Tiburones, maybe the most surprising out of all the standings here, especially with Herculean Hooves being that number 2 seed. And now we have another matchup here, and this is the most important match, I would say, out of all of them. As you can see, with Hooves falling, that's 6 and 4. Adjust there, plus minus a little bit here, and the winner of this set could potentially sneak this second seed away from the Hoofs.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, though, to be in the top 3, right? Because then you avoid having to play that SOC team, so you know that one of either Sturdy Artisans or Sleekness is going to have to play up against that top SOC team, and the other one will not, just based on the winner. So it's a pretty important game, and if you get second seed, that feels great. Obviously, you want that, but just getting the win is the most important thing.
Sturdy Artisans are going to be looking for that win back here up against Sleekness. And they got quite a team to do so here. Griff, Relentless, Payon, Sino, and Ionic. A lot of very strong name power just alone between Sino and Ionic, and Relentless one out of the solo lane. He's really been impressing me this season. Some of those kind of sillier out there picks, like Assassin ones, we saw Camazotz come out of him a few times, but he's been making a lot of his picks work. I think one of the ones we'll be talking a lot about here today, though, is going to be Sino out of that jungle. Very rarely do we get to see him actually pick an Assassin. It's usually something not in the Assassin tab.
Exactly. Vamana or something along those lines, as it is in this clip right away. Sino's always going to be doing something a little bit weird, so I'm not going to waste my time trying to predict it. But I think that overall, the Sturdy Artisans, like you mentioned, Relentless One is a huge part of this team. What he's able to do on that right side of the map is oftentimes a huge win condition for them. And then what the duo lane is going to be able to bring, because we know Pagon is going to be doing what Pagon does.
Pagon is just going to be firing off no matter where you slap him. And that's the fun part about this team, is there's been a little bit of back and forth on where they sometimes sink their roles in. We've had some games where, you look at the picture, you look at the players, you go, all right, it's going to be normal. And then the next game, they'll swap it up just a little bit. They'll throw Pagon maybe in the jungle at some point. I think we did have him there for a little bit. He jumped in support, I think, for one game played. I think it was a wheelish support he actually played, and Giannis went to mid. That was a whole fun little game, but up against this one, it might just be all serious between they're going up against Sleekness, who has taken 2-0s on both of the top 2 teams in their last times playing them. And it's a team where you look at the names, you go, okay, yeah, this team seems kind of solid, but to take 2-0s against Winter Dogs and to take 2-0s against Herculean Hooves, Sleekness are coming out with a lot of things to prove here, and they're maybe looking to try and take that second seed away.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this team, you're right. It's okay. Yeah, these guys are all good players, but certainly don't have the pedigree of teams like the Herculean Hoofs or even the Winter Dogs with some former SPL talent on that squad. But this team has just been working really well as a unit. I don't think they've really blown me out of the water in the early stages. They typically take it a little bit later, head towards the team fight phase, but they've just really looked good in those moments. Oath in particular, I think, has really been the driving force on this team. He's been the one making the really big plays for this squad. I think where they haven't impressed me quite yet is that Dude Man Bros had a couple of tough games back-to-back in the last few weeks, so what he can do up against Griff on the other side, I think, is going to be pretty key.
Yeah, I think Dude Man is the one that I've had my eyes on the most, just to kind of see his level of improvement as the phase has gone on. You kind of came into here and he never played a competitive set before. This is his first time jumping into competitive as far as I remember and as far as I'm aware. And he kind of came out with an explosive performance. Like set number 1, he pops out Cupid, just because he can play Cupid. He's comfortable on it. He's made it look good, but he has been struggling a little bit here in these last couple of sets. Let's jump into picks and bans for game number 1. See what all gets locked in here. This is still this current 8.9 meta, so we have been seeing the typical assassins come back in the jungle, and Oath in particular has really been loving this set and Susano kind of combo that he can pull off. If he can get either one of those guys, he's been making some pretty strong waves in the jungle.
Yeah, I think that if I'm looking at what Sleekness has done really well over these past few weeks, I'm looking to take Oath out of the game, whether it's via some of these picks that you mentioned or by trying to game plan around being aggressive in his jungle, because he has been able to do a little bit too much for other teams to handle. So interesting that the Artisans immediately take away this Persephone. It's something that this team has really liked and that they've seen a lot of success with, that not a lot of other players are playing. So I think that it's clear to me that the Sturdy Artisans have at least done a little bit of homework as to what Sleekness have been successful with.
And Sleekness are going to take a couple of shots at the support here, at least by taking the Geb off the table, taking Ionic out of something that Ionic's been playing since Ionic has been playing Smite ever since this god's been released. Just go ahead and just throw the Sobek in there too. Why don't we just take the Sobek away from Ionic, get away some of his more, kind of staple picks, but instead it will be another support in Khepri Bandway. He's been making a huge rise up in popularity, not just in the SCC, but also at the SPL level.
Yeah, a lot of these backline-oriented supports starting to rise in value, so wouldn't be surprised if Sylvanas either sees a ban or a prioritization based on these bans and what Sleekness intends to try and take away from Ionic. But as you mentioned, he still has the Sobek. Yamoja, something that he's played pretty well. I'd actually be kind of surprised if Sleekness lets the Yamoja through at this point. If you're already going to dedicate these 2 bans and then just let him have a really strong support, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So they do end up triple banning Ionic, and I think that if you think Geb is really good, and I do, and that Ionic's really good at Geb, and he clearly is, and you think that he can play Yamoja at a high level, which he can, you're kind of priced into banning at least those 2, and when you add in the Khepri, it means you're not going to be able to ban something like the Uller.
Man, it feels like I'm watching a King set where they're just like players like Genetics and Awesome Jake. You just see nothing but target bans against them. It's what it feels like, or it's got to be in the minds here of Ionic, as he gets 3 bans taken to him. While the Artisans on the other side, they took away the Persephone, which we've really only been seeing in the NA SCC. It's the only time this god's really come out. It's usually between like Benny Q and Nehu and some of these other players. That's why we are seeing it banned. And then the Susano makes a lot of sense. We got to see some of the highlights for it for this team up there in the jungle, so making sure to ban that. And then the Loki, just because he's been a standard ban as far as the jungle is concerned, this new meta.
Exactly. So you're left with a little fewer options. Set, certainly one of them that Oath has really liked. So I really like Sleekness going Cirquet, because that's one of his natural counters. So you take away that natural counter, you give yourself the opportunity to pick that set a little bit later on in the draft if you so please. But just getting Cirquet Odin right off the top 2 is really, really strong. I mean, Quig has been playing the Cirquet support super well. He's looked very good on it. Giving this Odin over to Chronic and letting him kind of solidify himself over there in that solo lane, I think is a very good look. You still have Nike open, who has been really dominant at this level. I was going to say Nike and Artio both still open, but Artio is usually a god that you don't want to play into Odin a whole lot, so it doesn't surprise me that we see the Nike pickup instead of that Artio. But this has been such a good pick for Relentless One during this phase. And it also can work not just for him, but for Sino, who was the one who started the Nike jungle trend last year. Wouldn't surprise me to see this be a flex pick.
Also noticing on there, that was, 22 games, I think, that Nike's been playing? Almost a 70% win rate. That is absurd for a single god. And again, it's something that North American Smite players here in the SCC really love this Nike because of her flexibility, as you highlighted in the jungle. Some possibilities are there, but been seeing a lot of success out of solo. In fact, a lot of teams have really been kind of top 3ing this Nike, try and get themselves a solid solo lane. Along with the Nike, it is a Terra going the way of the Sturdy Artisans, and then you have a Cupid for the final pick there for Sleekness. So getting something comfortable there for Dude Man Bro, getting one of his pocket picks.
And it's a great matchup up against Uller and Terra, so you immediately get him a comfort pick that should be very, very successful. A little surprised to see the Artisans take Terra into the Odin, as that's a matchup that you don't really love. No way for her to get out of that cage, shuts down all the healing. That's kind of what you want the Odin to be doing, and he's going to be able to do it very easily, what the Artisans have so far.
First bans coming out here in the second round of bans, the Giannis and the Morgan, and then Hell and Tiamat. So it's all mid laners. We go from a triple support ban in the first phase there by Sleekness to just 4 mage bans across the board. But out of all the mages that got banned, one still got left away. One of the staple top 2 of the mid laners, Raijin, left open. That'll be picked up for Sleekness, and Artisans will respond with a Sun Wukong, who we don't really see all that often. Typically will be thrown more towards the solo lane, so
Yeah.
most likely expecting to see this Nike make their way into the jungle, and then going up against the Raijin will be Merlin, who's always kind of been that fallback god of Merlin's never really bad. It's just there's always been other gods that are above him, namely, you know, the Tiamat and the Raijin at this point. Even the Morgan's kind of risen up just a little bit more. Merlin, though, never a bad god to fall back to.
Absolutely not. Love this pick for Pagon. It's one of his best gods, so getting him that feels really good. Oath gets his set on the back end. I mean, I think both teams probably coming away feeling very good about this draft. Maybe Ionic being forced onto the Terra instead of one of his comfort picks that we see more often from him, like Geb and like Yamoja. Maybe that's the one place the Artisans feeling like they didn't come away with exactly what they wanted. But other than that, I mean, you get Uller over here in this duo lane. I think that giving Griff the keys, so to speak, in this game and allowing him to try and out-pressure even in the counter matchup, I think is a really good look.
Game number 1 between the sturdy Artisans and Sleekness are ready to go right now. We saw the Circuit as a first pick there by Sleekness, and then a 10th pick was a set. So they took the counter matchup, and then they took the counter matchup and brought it on both their teams. That will put Quig on this Circuit, and it will be, once again, J-Mac, Aggro, and Doug there to bring us the action for game number 1 of our third set of the day. And a big one it is. If you're just now tuning in, Sturdy Artisans and Sleekness, they are tied currently in the standing. The winner of this will at the very least, get 3rd seed. There is some potential for it to be that 2nd seed, but the top 3 is kind of that most important one. You're talking a little bit about it earlier, to where if you do fall into 4th, you have to face off against one of those SOC teams in the wild card matchups. And already in the dual lane, we can see Quig and Dude Man Bro. We'll make it the lane just a little bit sooner, but going up against Terra Uller should be some nice and kind of even clear, honestly. Cupid Circuit, really not the nameliest of clears in duo.
No, they don't clear the wave super well, but they kill really well, and that's the thing that they have to be worried about.
Especially with level 2 on Quig, and level 2 Dude Man, he'll dash in aggressively, taunts Griff in, the beads have been expended, the jump is out, but Dude Man doesn't have the heart bomb on Griff, instead it hits Ionic. A nice body block by the support means that Griff gets to walk out alive.
That was a smart play by Griff in one way, not backing up fast enough. He was a creep off 2, which he needed to get his jump, so he beads and then hits the creep because he knows that's going to give him the opportunity to jump away.
And already beads taken away by Griff, so that means it's going to be a little bit more dangerous for this Uller. No natural CC immunity in the kit, so he's going to rely heavily on those beads for any rotation that may come through, though. This is a little bit of a CC light-ish style heavy team, except in his direct matchup against that Cupid. Heart Bomb, Fields of Love, going to be really good for trying to shut this Uller down once Dude Man does hit level 5.
Yeah, it's really just Quig on the Circuit and Dude Man's ultimate that you have to worry about beadsing. I mean, you know, beadsing the Taiko drums when you go in aggressively so you can't fear you away happens a decent amount of the time, but overall, you're really looking at these 2 duo lane members as your biggest threats, and neither of them are going to be level 5 before he gets his beads back. So it's really not the end of the world for him to have lost them there.
Okay, we were talking about, you know, Nike's flexibility in jungle. Haven't seen Sun Wukong jungle in a hot minute. Sino, well, who else but Sino to really try and bring this god in the jungle? He'll be able to walk away thanks to the help of the bird transformation in that 72 transformations. Man, seeing Wukong jungle just kind of gives me flash to, you know, remember the old days of Wukong support?
Oh yeah, Wukong support was really good when Master's Will had a knockup. You could play that god anywhere. You could play that god mid ADC, didn't matter. You just wanted him on your team. I think Wukong jungle is like extremely fine. It doesn't excite me in any way. I don't think that it really is that good. I would have definitely preferred to see Wukong solo Nike jungle. I think that in every other team's hands that's the better combination. But even when they have the opportunity to go with a little bit more normal, Sino and Relentless One refuse.
Blinking by Quig, Deathsbane, and the Cobra's Kiss. The Heart Bomb is in, and Quig wants to make sure that Heart Bomb gets the kill. Quig comes up with first blood, but a quick return by Griff to make it a 1-for-1 trade. So Sturdy Artisans at least get something off that rotation.
Nice little pump fake to go into the jungle, make them think they're just going to be on the purple buff and know that they're going to have the damage. It was a little bit close. I thought Quig might actually die and give the first blood away, but ended up getting the first blood himself before ending up dying. Overall, not ideal that Quig is the one to get the first blood and not Oath, who probably could have gotten it, but with the clock ticking on his lifetime, then it made some sense.
So Sino's home is now in this jungle, and it might also be where his grave is. Sino gets hit by the Taiko drums. The Ox form gets him out, but Oath is waiting for him. A quick blink by Sino. Oath is just waiting for that teleport to come up with the Sandstorm or just to spawn so he can throw that skewer and take Sino down. Another kill up for Sleekness.
Yeah, Sino was out if he just went south. If he just didn't go in between towers, he could have easily just blinked out of danger.
Pagon gets taunted back in, and now the Merlin is the one in danger, but Neu doesn't have the ultimate, not enough damage to take out Pagon. He'll make it back to base and be able to maintain his life here in the mid lane, but it's 2-1 up for Sleekness here at 4 minutes. The gold, dead even across the board. Only about 50 to 100 gold separating the teams, and Oracle Harpies going for Sturdy Artisans. Even the experience, pretty much dead even here.
But clearly, Sleekness is the one with the momentum on their side. I mean, they're the ones making these aggressive plays. Sturdy Artisans' only kill is because Sleekness is all the way under the tier 1.
Uh-oh, Griff in danger. He'll get hit by the Fields of Love, and that long mez sets up for more than enough time for Oath to rotate over. A quick leap out by Griff, but Dude Man is out of mana. It doesn't matter. Oath and Quick able to team up under the tower and get another kill on the side for Sleekness. This one taking out Griff. That's his second death on the board. A nice little bait there by Dude Man. Used up all of his mana right before the fight even happens, but it's just a bait for the Assassins to make their way over.
It just buys time. That's all I needed to do. That long mez, and Griff, knowing that Dude Man Bro is out of mana, is thinking, well, I don't need to respect this at all. I can just not beads it, sit there. You know, I'm not going to get my beads baited by this ultimate, but it wasn't a bait all along. It was really their design to keep him locked in place. Just not great ward coverage on that left side of the map to give them the information that, yeah, we do have to beads that, and we got to get out of dodge.
Sino will, again, try and get something going on in the jungle. This time he's at his own back camps, and now maybe it's Oath who wants to try and make an invade at those back sides. We do see Oath walk over, but won't be able to take those camps away. It'll be Sino level 6 on the Sun Wukong. Hasn't been able to finish that mace just yet. Oath does have his Jotun's Wrath fully online, a very cheap item to pick up, and it's kind of become a staple among so many of the junglers. Even a lot of the hunters have been picking this up, even if they're not necessarily fully ability-based. We have been seeing this item kind of just sneak its way into multiple roles.
Just really good for its cost. I mean, it kind of gives you everything you want, right? It's power, it's cooldown, it's penetration, it's some mana. You're just never feeling bad buying Jotun's Wrath early. It ends up not being Jotun's for Dude Man Bro, which I'm a little surprised about, because one of the whole points of going Cupid is you just want to drop that ultimate as often as possible. And so getting that 20% CDR certainly would have made that significantly easier, but Crusher with that attack speed means it feels really, really good for your auto attacks overall. So, you know, not a horrible pickup by any means, but surprised that it's Crusher.
There's the ultimate one more time. Griff will stand in the middle of his minions. The Mez will get broken there at the very tail end. The Heart Bomb comes through. Griff winning the 1v1, but he'll back away and let Sino go ahead and try and finish the job. It's an ult in now from Sino to try and jump on top of Dude Man. He'll get the damage, but it's not enough. Instead, he jumps right into the clutches of 3, and Sleekness take him down. Neu credited for the kill at a 101 for the mid lane.
You know, that's I don't know if it's a phrase that I'm repeating properly, but there's a fine line between genius and insanity, and sometimes Sino looks like an absolute genius with some of these picks. And sometimes you blink, mess up your 72 transformations, and let the hunter live, and you die because of it. You know, it's tough to say which one you're going to do on any given day. And so far, it's been more of the negative from this Wukong so far.
Griff. It's never a slow day here in the office for Griff. Every single time in this game that he is back in lane, there are 2 assassins with his number dialed in. And Oath, the one who picks up the call, 3-0-2. Pagan Ionic, both rotating over. Full health, full mana could do something if they are able to catch one of these guys out, but instead, everybody else from Sleekness will be able to escape. It sets up for a greater Scorpion on the right-hand side. Chronic will not, and wisely will not jump in the middle of both of them to try and steal that away. Instead, he'll throw a little bit of Poker Relentless and make his way back towards the lane and set up for the left side Scorpion to go for Sleekness.
Everything going their way right now, 5-1. I mean, they've got all of these kills onto Griff, but it hasn't amounted to as much as I would have thought. I mean, they're only up about 500 gold, which, you know, it is a lead to have at this point in the game, but not a significant one by any means. They aren't ahead in XP overall, so all things considered for Sturdy Artisans, it's going fine. You know, it's really not going too badly. You have to figure that Dude Man Bro's ultimate is going to get less guaranteed value as the game goes on. It's still going to get pretty good value for sure, but a lot easier for a Heavenly Agility to come out from Ionic, though he probably is going to need Phantom. Just easier to jump on this Cupid in the midst of the team fight and keep him off of Griff, who's really not going to be getting hit by that ultimate very often once it comes to the 5-on-5. So overall, Sturdy Artisans, you know, I'm sure that it hasn't been a very fun game for Griff so far. He's really gotten the treatment, but if they can keep everyone's mental intact, they're in a fine position in this game.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think Griff even had his beads during that last Fields of Love. Instead,
He
he just positioned himself behind the minions that way. It wouldn't be a guaranteed hit immediately back against him. But he has those backups, so if Dude Man throws the ultimate, Griff may or may not have to use those beads. Instead, now it's Dude Man who's in danger by Sino. Forces the ultimate out. The ult, don't know if that actually was able to catch Sino in time. It did. He's still taking a little bit of damage while sitting up on the cloud. He'll leap away. Fields of Love drop Quig. Dives the back line on Sino. Needs one more basic to secure the kill, and he will get it now. It's Oath chasing down Griff, but Oath might want to turn tail and run. Pagon with a transformation. The Blizzard cuts off the path, but Oath, he's got some jukes, but not enough. Pagon finds the final basic to weave it in, and now it's Quig hunting down Griff, but a nice axe toss from the Hunter makes sure they get out.
Really, really good decision from Pagon to leave Ionic. Don't try and help him out. Instead, just go and make sure that Griff ends up surviving, and you get a big kill onto Oath. That being said, it's again Sleekness who come out on top. It's still 2 for 1 in their favor out of that engagement, but at least that time around for Sturdy Artisans, they're able to get a pretty key kill onto a priority target.
Yeah, making sure trying to shut down Oath on this set. Close to that Transcendence, if that is the item he elects to pick up next with this Tier 2 charge Morningstar. Most likely will be, though he could. Maybe not the best idea to go for a very early Heartseeker. Very expensive item in Heartseeker. You get some nice stats, but maybe a little early in the game for it. Pagon, he'll get taunted back in by Quig, and immediate rotation out by the Circuit. Looking across the board for the items, it is going to be a Gauntlet of Thieves on both of the supports early on. Usually we have been seeing these Terras, these Sylvanas supports, even sometimes the Emoja, have kind of been rushing the Lotus Crown first, but instead we will see Gauntlet of Thieves first for Ionic.
Yeah, I think it's less important on Terra than it is on Yamoja or certainly Sylvanas. I think Lotus Crown is by far Sylvanas' best item. I think that on Terra, because your heal is a little bit more conditional, except for just being around people, you know, you got to place on the Monolith, then it's not a big heal anyways. Giving them the proc certainly feels good. It's really about how it feels with your ultimate, instantly applying it to the whole squad and trying to get them the damage mitigation, and then when the heal comes through, they also get those extra protections at the same time. I think I like the Thebes first for Terra, whereas on a god like about Sylvanas, I would certainly prefer to see it rushed first item.
Dude, man, he'll get a little bit of lifesteal in his build. Asi's second item for him immediately after the Crusher. Griff, he does get the Jotun's Wrath and a Bumba's Dagger, and he'll work towards his Transcendence, which has been a staple item on Uller, well, pretty much ever since the god came out. Who could ever argue against a little bit of extra power, especially some extra mana on a god that really does need that extra mana pool available to him? Looked like there's a potential gank there in duo. Dude Man Bro spotted out just quick enough, so he's able to walk out, no problem to him. He'll be able to get back towards the safety of his side of the map. Quig even rotating over just to make sure that his Hunter is all nice and peachy.
And trying to probably kill Griff at the same time, because that's what been his goal basically all game long. I think Ionic being here just to make sure that Griff doesn't end up taking too much pressure makes some sense. Obviously, it costs Griff some farm, which he needs pretty badly, but getting pretty close to being able to finish that Transcendence anyways. Those back camps plus the wave that's coming should be enough.
Sino, he'll clear up his speed buff and kind of a look at the levels across the board. Slightly in favor of Sturdy Artisans towards the right and mid side of the map, but in the duo lane, a 2-level lead, closer to a level and a half for Dude Man. A speed buff invade by Relentless may cost him at least his ultimate for it. Ultimate out of Nehu goes through. Taiko Drums, only a couple of them hit. Ultimate comes out from Relentless and a quick leap away. They've expended now 3 ultimates to try and take this man down. Even the cage comes down to pick him up, but in the back line, it's Sino taking out the carries. Oath and Nehu down. Quig and Chronic on the run. Sino gets in the ultimate just before that Fields of Love hits. And that'll be a quick disengage for Sturdy Artisans. They pick up 2.
Listen, Relentless One does the job and more in that moment. He gets 2 for 1 in their favor, and he steals away the speed buff. And with that, the Sturdy Artisans are actually in the lead in this game, and Sleekness have no ultimates whatsoever. We wouldn't be surprised to see the Sturdy Artisans really be able to turn up the heat a little bit. Of course, they don't have any ultimates either. Griff having his because he's Uller and a stand switcher, and Pagon also had his, but basically a stand switcher, so same sort of deal. Not a lot of power play opportunities with ultimates right now, but I think that favors 30 Artisans pretty heavily.
I mean, they committed, what was it, 3 ultimates immediately to try and kill Relentless, and then the cage ended up being the ultimate secure. They drop it down. Now he has nowhere to run after the leap. I mean, they threw Kingslayer, they threw Taiko Drums, they threw Last Breath, and still that man lived through just about everything. That shield coming up huge for the Nike, and a Gold Fury started up by Sleekness. Nehu rotates over just to make sure they can easily burn that one down. And a nice response here from Sleekness. They lose the team fight on the right side, so they immediately make their way towards that left, able to pick up an objective and tie the gold lead at least back up. But Sturdy Artisans still with about a 3,000 XP lead.
Yeah, surprised that the Sturdy Artisans weren't a little bit more aware that that could be happening. It's a great play from Sleekness, no doubt, but one that I feel like the Sturdy Artisans probably should have been ready to be the aggressors themselves around that Gold Fury and not allow Sleekness to be the first ones there, because like I said, I think that not having your ultimates is a lot worse for Sleekness. Their composition is a lot more ultimate based than what the Sturdy Artisans have.
Quick. I'll take a little bit of poke from Relentless. Also, to know, Sturdy Artisans, they've only got 3 true ultimates on their side. They've got the ultimate from Relentless with the Sentinel of Zeus. You have the Cloud from Sino, and then Ionic with his. Other than that, you got a couple of stance switchers. Quig, he's going to eat quite a bit of damage from Sino and Ionic. He'll get a nice little Cobra's Kiss to push Ionic away from him, but yeah, I just kind of noticed that it's a double stance switch. Now, Merlin's ult does do a little bit of damage if you're right up in their face, but even still,
right.
You're going 3 versus 5.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is it doesn't matter too much for the Sturdy Artisans because they would only be down 3 significant cooldowns, whereas Sleekness would be down 5. And you're still going to get value out of your 4 key on both Pagon and Griff. So even though they aren't true ultimates, they still obviously bring a lot to what the character is trying to do. And that's why if you can trade ultimates and drain the reserves on both sides, then Sturdy Artisans are just going to be more equipped to fight.
Dive in by Oath on the mid lane. It's going to put Pagon close to half health, but he'll throw out that Eclipse to get some big damage out. The Skewer misses. Sino does get hit by that last breath poison yet again, so he won't get any healing back up on that Cloud. Quig will taunt him right back in. He needs a little bit of backup. Sino turns the tables and a dive in from Ney with a Thunder Crash, able to make it a 1-for-1, but Griff takes out Oath on the back end of the fight, and Relentless one diving in. He's got a blink ult of his own. He'll push Dude Man right back against the wall. Stun comes through in the cage to hold Relentless one in place. Ren comes out in the Fields of Love to slow Relentless down. Dude Man able to make it out, but for how much further can he run? Relentless makes it back to the mid lane, and Chronic will guarantee that his carry can at least make it out alive.
That was a huge play once again from Relentless one, getting into that back line and just causing too much of a disturbance. But speaking of too much, Sleekness's jungler Oath goes a little bit too hard on that dive. Pagon's able to really space well. I mean, he was never in any danger of dying, still had both of his relics up, did a ton of damage on the retreat off his back foot, and then a good rotation in from Griff is able to make sure that Oath falls as well. So it's a 2-for-1 this time in the Sturdy Artisans' favor, and it's still just a completely even game. This game has been awfully scrappy through the first 16.5 minutes.
I mean, these two teams are out here to brawl. I mean, they're fighting with a lot on the line. That 3rd seed's so important for both of them, and they've had strong encounters against both of these top teams, Sturdy Artisans and Sleekness, both up against, Winter Dogs and Herculean Hoof. So they got a lot to prove out here. They really want to take that 3rd seed. Sleekness in a good position to even potentially take 2nd seed, depending on how this set goes. I think they need a 2-0 in order to potentially force that tie, and then they would have the map win. So Sleekness really need this game here. But Sturdy Artisans can always play a little bit of that spoiler. They can get the win. They can at least push Sleekness down to 4th seed, make them have to face off in that wild card. But I mean, Sleekness, if they're able to get some ones on top teams, they only expect this to maybe favor them just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they've done really well so far this year, and I think you're seeing a lot of the reason why. It's being aggressive. It's having really good picks and bans. I think that they really did such a good job in the picks and bans in this game, and getting Oath one of his comfort picks and Quig one of his. I mean, you get your mid or your jungle and your support on these dive-oriented picks, and that has been difficult for a lot of teams to deal with. But Pagon, one of, if not the best mid laners in this region, definitely going to be harder to dive for free than some of the other opponents Sleekness may have been playing. So 1-0-2 for the Merlin up against a Serket Odin set composition so far. I think that speaks a lot.
He's doing really well, making sure to keep his team in there. Down about 1,000 gold, but experience slightly still favoring them. Level up in the support, level up in the jungle, about 2,000 total experience. They're up even if they are that 1,000 down, but another 500 gold potentially here if Dude Man decides to push this lane in, take that tier 1 tower. It doesn't seem that Griff really wants to try and stop that, but maybe he doesn't really have a choice. Oath and Quig, again, just kind of pitching their tent here on this left side of the map, but now with Ionic and Sino here, could maybe look to try and turn this fight their way. Double stun coming out of Ionic's going to hold both the carries in. Nehu in danger. Heart Bomb goes out. Hits Sino, and the ultimate is expended. Sino in the air, not healing for much, and a slam down will be enough to slam Nehu right out of the battlefield. With Relentless One pushing forward, now it's Dude Man in danger. Quig in trouble on the back as he's trying to fight Pagon, and he is losing that battle.
Chronic trying to find Sino, who's on his last legs, but decides better against jumping in order to try and secure that kill. It's a 2-for-0 in the Sturdy Artisans' favor, and what an engage by Ionic and Sino. A double stun into a blink, double knock-up from Sino. There's that Earth and Fury again, going to make a big difference every single time for the Terra.
They don't even get that one. So far it's a 2-for-0, and even Primal Fury could go the way of the Artisans. The Spear's expended. Chronic only has that Bird Bomb if he wants to go for the steal. He'll jump in, but it's not quite enough. Sturdy Artisans able to pick up the Fury and maybe even pick up another kill. Oath is a little too far forward. Ionic will not continue to chase. Instead, it's Chronic zoning the back, but Pagon finds him with a snipe in the back line. That's another kill for the Artisans to make it a 3-for-0 and a Primal Fury.
Beautiful play by the Sturdy Artisans. That little micro reset on the Primal Fury just to stop DPS entirely, force Chronic to make a choice as his Raven Shield was about to expire. Do I want to use it or not? And he decides the answer is yes. He lives, but Oath does not as he dove in a little bit too far yet again. And all of a sudden, Sino's up 4 levels over Oath after that last one. They came into that fight pretty even. Maybe a slight level lead for Sino, like 1 level. But now it is 4 because Oath dies just back-to-back, which is always a death sentence for your farm. Nothing will kill your farm faster than dying, coming back out, dying instantly again, because you just feel like you're off the map for such an extended period of time. Sino really made it work, man. I mean, I was shocked at the amount of damage that Somersault Cloud slam down did to Nehu. It did a good 20% of its health.
I think we're so used to seeing the solo Sun Wukong, and they're not really building a ton of damage in their kit. So you see like a quarter, third health mid lane, and you're like, okay, he'll live. He'll probably need, Cudgel, maybe Master's Will to kind of clean up the kill, but Sino is all damage in this jungle. The Serrated Edge, a Jotun's Wrath, and a Brawler's Beat Stick. And Ionic, he's going to need a little bit of extra help. He'll pop the ultimate inside the cage. He'll be able to dash away. Relentless One is here to help him out. And now Oath is the one in danger. The barrier explodes and pops him down, but Ionic will pop. The poison does not spread to Relentless, but he is fighting 3v1 with the Fire Giant as his backup. Nehu's got to run back. The barrier pushes Quig against the wall, and it's a continued chase from the solo lane out of the Artisans. The Sleekness team has to run away, and now that Sino's rotated in, could be danger for Chronic.
Has a jump still, but Relentless One is right behind him with a leap of his own. Dude Man Bro here on the support is going to force Sino and Relentless One back, at least for the moment.
Sino went back and bought a full Erendite. Now you can see the full force of it. An ultimate up from the jungler, and will he dive right down on Dude Man, right past the Fields of Love. Almost took him out, and that'll be enough. The Aussie only kept Dude Man alive for a little bit longer. Nehu now in danger. The leap and the double pull in by Pagon. Big plays from the mid lane. Big plays from Relentless One, and Quig and Chronic, the front line of Sleekness, have to turn tail and run.
Sturdy Artisans, man. Their team fight has just been so good, and it's really been this front line of Relentless One and Ionic. Ionic gets caught out there on the Fire Giant trying to greedily clear a ward. Sleekness make the right idea, I think, and just trying to punish him for it, but no Phantom, no problem for Ionic. He survived long enough to bait him in.
Oath's going to try and make something happen here, but that's half his health bar. No, it's not even half. That is all of his health bar for even thinking about walking into the Fire Giant pit. Quig walks out, but it's a big stun out of Ionic to hold him in place. Quig has the ambush to get out, but Relentless is hot on his heels. Griff, though, he gets hit by the Cobra's Kiss. A nice taunt from Quig. Make sure to keep him alive, but the rest of the team have set their sights back towards the Fire Giant.
It's Chronic here yet again in the face of another objective. This one a lot higher stakes in the last Gold Fury. Can Chronic steal this one is the question.
Bird Bomb is not going to be available. It's only the jump he'll have, but he's going to walk away. Fire Giant will go down for Sturdy Artisans. Nice zoning by Relentless One. Make sure that Chronic can't get in there. Sturdy Artisans secure another objective. Now, 10,000 experience, nearly 4,000 gold swings the way of Sturdy Artisans. Sleekness are trying to respond here. The Pyromancer, Ionic and Pagon have not left yet. Sleekness do get the Pyro, even with a nice attempt of a steal there by the Artisans.
Yeah, that doesn't feel that great for them anyways, though. I mean, they limp away with a consolation prize, whereas the Sturdy Artisans are in such a good position now. I mean, they're up a good 3,000 gold, but with Fire Giant on everybody.
Ooh, Sino takes a nice chunk of damage against Nehu. May even be able to take his entire health bar up on the Somersault Cloud, but uses it for an escape this time. Doesn't have the team as backup. A slow goes through, but not going to affect Oath one bit, and an ultimate from Quig will secure the kill on Sino. So finally the jungler gets paid his due rights for being so aggressive, especially all the way on the top side of the map on the enemy jungle.
Yeah, that was definitely too far for Sino. You say finally, but I'm looking at how he's half the kills for Sleekness so far in this game. Sino has continuously been willing to trade his life in one-for-ones for more valuable members of Sleekness. And in those moments, it's really good, right? I mean, you feel good about making a play like that and opening up the game for yourself. That was not trading your life for one. It was just too much.
Now Relentless will have to face off against 2, and he's doing more than enough damage back to Dude Man to force this Cupid to back away, and even force a full rotation from Sleekness. Everybody on the map heading towards this left side. A leap in by Quig and a leap out by Relentless. Some good damage from Griff. Punch back against Quig. Make sure to put this Circuit back at bay, but it's a 4v5 here. With Chronic's the front line, that cage could be potent for the Sleekness team. Oni Fury started up, but Pagon is chunking away Quig. A flicker in, a transformation into the Arcane, but not going to be enough damage to take out the support.
Close, but still forces him out. Quig has his ultimate back now, and with that Pridwin shield, might be able to make a play. Still sticking around for the time being.
Even Sino is back up. Ultimate available to the jungler, and they'll be the ones to start up the Fury. Now Chronic is being pushed back. Everybody from Sleekness, they showed up for the fight. They almost lose one in the fight, and they might even lose a second one. Now Chronic has to dive under his own tower. Relentless will smack him away with the Ren. The cage has been broken, but Relentless will stand under the tier 2, while Sino again dives the back line up in the ultimate for him. But he's not going to go have any major targets except for Nehu. That's at 650 against both of them?
Yeah, Nehu has to use the Aegis, or
Good
doesn't have
Lord.
the Aegis to use as well, and Oath might just be dead.
The dot from the fire is enough. Heart Bomb hits 2. Quig used the ultimate against Sino, and Sino's going to do his best to try and kill him before he goes down, but he won't be successful. Quig gets a return kill, but Ionic puts a third one down for Sleekness. Tier 2 tower falls all the while in the midst of that fight, and now Sturdy Artisans can start looking at the Phoenix, and with over 300 and auto coming from Griff, it will guaranteed go down with no problem.
I think that might be game here, J-Mac. I mean, only these two up for the next 25 seconds. Oath will have ult when he spawns them.
Relentless will tank it up. Chronic and Quig trying to hold them back. Cage drops down. That'll slow him just a little bit. Relentless is being chunked out by this Titan. It's not taking a whole lot of damage, but Quig and Chronic are. Quig so low, just looking for a way through, but it's Griff and Relentless who put him down with the minions here. They've got some extra damage. They still have 5 seconds till Oath is up, but Chronic trying to push them out. Relentless goes in with the barrier. The Titan is falling low. Chronic picks up a double, and now Griff has to run. It's a triple kill for the front liner, but Griff finally puts him down and gets a double of his own, and now it's a 1v1 against the jungler.
Oh my!
Missed it, and Griff turns it around for a triple.
That was insane. Just cross-sections his abilities perfectly. It absolutely one-taps Oath coming out of spawn. That is nuts. At the very least, 30 Artisans didn't win the game if you're Sleekness, but maybe you wish they would have so that Oath didn't get styled on so hard.
Yeah, Oath lost 80% of his health bar in a split second. Welcome back to the meta, Uller. My goodness. You don't get to see just one taps like that very often from a hunter, but here's Griff here in 2021 in the 10th month of the year, just absolutely annihilating Oath inside of his own base. I think we might even get to see a nice little replay here of that little siege of Griff picking up his first one, takes out Griff, and then it's the 1v1 trade against Chronic, able to pick him up at the tail end, but man, I just got to see that health bar disappear again.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. I mean, he puts a lot of damage into Titan. The fact that they were able to keep the archers out of the Titan area was huge. That was really the big play there by Chronic and by Quig, but this is just crazy, man. I mean, 3-1, yeah, see ya. Just absolutely crushes him.
Didn't even need the bladed or the axe there. Instead, he threw that one against Chronic, was maybe waiting for the cooldown, but when that skewer missed, that was the go button for Griff. He immediately turns tail right back at him. And now back to the Fire Giant is our next little fight, and they're turning all of their attention to Ionic. This support is not going to make it out alive, but they invest a lot to try and kill him. Meanwhile, Relentless is still full health, has a massive shield, and is pushing everybody from Sleekness back. And with that Titan so low, somebody's going to have to go back and answer to these fire minions.
Especially because there's an Oni fire wave coming
Oh,
next.
no.
Sino, meanwhile, looking for Nehu. And he should find him here.
Sino just waiting for his opportunity to jump down, but he'll
Oh,
jump
no,
the wrong
Sino.
direction. Nehu ends up living through, and they take out Sino, but at least they trade out and get Chronic all the while. Now
That's
Tier
huge,
2
though.
tower will go down. Minions are pushing in. That's a massive minion wave, even an Oni wave right behind it. They've got to answer to this one quick, and with Nehu there, they'll have more than enough damage, but now this right side Phoenix, the one in danger with fire minion or with Oni minions pushing in. That'll be an easy pick here for Sturdy Artisans. And now Sleekness only have one tower and one Phoenix left standing on the map.
That's really big that Nehu lives in that situation, though, because Sino misses, because if he's not there to clear out that fire wave plus Oni fire wave, that is a lot harder for Sleekness to deal with. And that might have been enough time for the Sturdy Artisans to just walk back and do fire alone. Like, that, it is that big of a difference for the wave clear. So the fact that Nehu lives, didn't have his Aegis, just had to outright juke that Somersault Cloud, and sat right underneath Sino and was just able to make him guess wrong.
Ionic level 19 on the Terra, Quig level 19 on the Circuit, so we might get to see both of our supports hit level 20 this game, though Ionic is just a single tier of an item ahead in his build. It's a 7,000 gold lead for Sturdy Artisans, close to 7,500, but we're kind of hitting that stage where that gold is mattering a little bit less and less, still waiting for those 6 items to come online for just about everybody across the board. Relentless One will dive in, find Dude Man, and so will Pagon. Gets the Arcane Stance switch, and that'll be the end of the life for the Hunter. Now, in the 5v4 power play, Sturdy Artisans could look to end or could look to go back for fire, but I think end might be in their books here.
And they've got the Merlin, they've got the burn damage, and all their carries have relics, so I think this is probably the right call.
Just going to walk right in. A cage drops from Chronic, but Ionic and Griff immediately walk themselves out. Pagon will use the flicker. Pagon's in a lot of danger, but Ionic, he'll go right into the throne room. Griff gets burned out, though. That's 2 of the carries out. The Titan is low, and that should be enough damage with the help of Sino to grab them out. Relentless picks up Nehu, and Sturdy Artisans pick up game number 1. Sleekness falling here.
That was a little scarier than I thought the Sturdy Artisans might have to make it. But overall, a good comeback. I mean, Sleekness was off to such a good start in that game, specifically shutting down Griff. But Dude Man Bro just unable to kind of leverage that lead as much as I think Sleekness was really looking for. Ends the game 0-3 and 9 with the type of lead he had. 2 levels in the counter matchup. I think you'd expect him to be able to find at least 1 kill.
I mean, he was up 0-6 at one point and then just couldn't find really much of anything in that game. Keep it not panning out here for Sleekness. Sturdy Artisans with their win. We're going to take us to game number 2. We're going to go ahead and go to a break, and then we'll come right back right after. If you want to catch any of the action getting ready to go up into SWC and even for SWC, January 6th through 9th for the hi-rez showcase is the place that you want to be. You got all kinds of great events ready to kick off for that amazing event. Everybody always kind of looks forward to that event. I always look forward to this time of the year. We're getting closer and closer to that Worlds, and whether it be in person or at home, it's always a treat to watch. I think I've been to all of them except for, I think, Worlds 1. And obviously the one that we had that you guys hosted in the studio last year. But
Sure.
outside of that, I've been able to go to every one of them. That's the word I'm looking for. I've been able to go to every one of them or watch every single one of them. They're always a pleasure, always a treat. So make sure you're there for hi-rez showcase January 6th through 9th. When that takes place, so make sure you tune in for there. Sturdy Artisans get a big win here in game number 1. Sino continue to play the Sino way, diving into enemy back territory as early as, what was it, like level 2, level 3, he's going for back camps, never let off the gas there. And then Griff, as bullied as Griff got in the early game, he got to come back with an explosive finish.
Yeah, obviously not the start that Griff wanted in this game because he was getting camped between his tier 1, tier 2 tower. But ultimately ends up getting the victory and maybe the biggest highlight play of the game. Overall, Sturdy Artisans, I think that their team fight composition just really came really well together. Sleekness, normally very coordinated on these dives, just were not in this game. Oath on what has looked like his best pick so far in this season just did not really make the impact that we've seen from him normally on this set. And ultimately, the Sturdy Artisans just had Pagon get too safe in this game. Pagon was able to do a little bit too much on this Merlin.
And then Griff. Now, I'm not going to say he got to free cast in this last little fight. He did get to kind of stand there and just throw damage at anybody who walked up, and then he gets a big triple kill to kind of close out the game. This wasn't the game-winning play, but this is definitely the highlight play of the game, I will say. Always a flashy way to get some big kills here, gets a triple, and that juke of the skewer was all that Griff needed to turn that kill around. Well, now you get to see just why so many teams are picking and banning this Uller, the level of damage he can do late game, and he wasn't even full build at that point. I think he's only was like 4.5, 5 items in by the time that we did get to see that last little bit creep through. A 6, 4, and 9 to finish up his last line. Remember, he was like 0-3, I think, at the beginning of the game, so getting a nice 6-1 turnaround to kind of close it out.
Yeah, he was obviously great, and I can't believe I didn't mention Relentless One, who looked literally unstoppable on this Nike pick. I mean, I'm at the point where I think that this is just a pick that I want to ban from the Artisans basically every game, because Relentless One just has looked just unstoppable on that pick. It's the only word for it, because he just continues to create infinite space, just makes so many dives work so easily. I've been really impressed with what he's been doing throughout this entire year, and Nike's just the next god added to the list that feels like he's too good on.
Another win in the column there for the Nikes. That 68% win might jump up to even 70% after that nice little win there. Let's jump into picks and bans for game number 2 and see if maybe they decide to either take that Nike for themselves or maybe ban that one away. I think it's a good highlight there. It just felt like Relentless One just got to play Smite and got to have fun, but nobody on the enemy team got to have fun going up against him.
No. Anytime he was involved in those fights, it felt like it was a little bit too one-sided. So now Sleekness is in the first pick position. Terra ban is very interesting. I just disagree with this one overall, because you triple banned Ionic last game, and then he goes to this Terra as his 4th best option, or maybe 5th if you include the Circuit support that was taken away on the other end. And now it's like, okay, well, we can't ban all of his. He's going to get something. You can't ban the 3 gods you banned, plus the Circuit you picked, plus the Terra. You just can't do it all. So if Sleekness feel like, hey, this was the difference maker, this was what prevented us from making it happen, then that's fine. But I feel like it's hard to keep Ionic off of all of those picks all at the same time.
Well, so far, Sleekness have banned 2 of those gods out, the Terra, as you were highlighting, and the Geb one more time. Geb maybe just kind of a safe ban overall for how he's been able to perform at the top level of play. I think in the first week back in SPL, he was one of the, I'm not going to say the only, he was one of the only gods with multiple games played that had a 100% win rate, so no surprise seeing it banned. Kepri also taken, so it's another triple support ban. 2 of them maybe more so just because of how good they are in the current meta. But you were just talking, I mean, you throw 3-4 bans his way, but the silent ban by taking the Circuit, or Artisans, they're not going to change up their bans any. They go again with the Persephone, the Susano, and Loki. Now Sleekness have the option to first pick a support. They can grab something like a support to try and put him back down further. Instead, they go for the Nike, so they're just, again, kind of giving Ionic the pick of the litter here for supports.
Cool, so he just goes Yamoja, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't he just pick Yamoja in this spot? You can just go Yamoja Odin, don't have to worry about that anti-heal, you get a premier pick anyways, and Ionic still gets a top-tier support. So I'd be surprised. Ullr does make some sense.
Ooh,
Maybe you go Ullr Odin.
How did I forget about that?
In this spot. For what it's worth, I think taking Nike away from Sturdy
Right.
Artisans is
No, that's
a
the
necessity.
call.
Yeah,
That is the call for sure.
You got to do it, but that's you can also do it via bans. You don't necessarily have to do it via picks. If your first pick and Geb is this good, which I think he is, then I think they could have easily just banned Nike first pick Geb.
And then the Artisans, they get to round out their duo lane instantly. Ullr Yamoja going their direction. So Griff, again, struggled a bit in early, but as to be expected. You got double Assassin running you down at all times, and a Cupid who's always going to be burning those beads, but now they have a Yamoja instead of the Circuit. That's going to be maybe a little bit less early damage, but definitely a lot of early control between the Bubble Bounce and the Moonlight Blast. Going to be getting some nice CC, whether it be slow or stun. Sleekness will answer with the Morgan, so they're going to have a nice little transformation for themselves, and that can open up a world of possibilities for other gods for Sleekness. They have a ton of options they can pick to get those double Morgan ultimates. They can have a double Nike if they want. That would be pretty devastating to go up against for the Sturdy Artisans if they have to try and fight into something like that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you've got double Nike or double Circuit now, so I like the Nike Circuit Morgan combo. I think all of those three work very well together. I think that those three picks make a ton of sense to me. It's really just letting this Yamoja through that I think. If we had trouble with the idea of their team fight sustain is too good, their team fight is too good with all the AoE they have, Yamoja and Terra are very similar in that way. So even though it isn't the Terra, Ionic gets something very similar. Some, myself, would say better than Terra. You get something even better than it. So we'll see what Ionic's able to do, because if he's able to have that same level of impact on a fourth god after getting triple banned, then it's going to be hard for Sleekness to win.
First ban's coming through for the second phase. That's a Camazotz and a Giannis taken out. And that low Camazotz is a little bit of a shot towards the jungle, but also could be up in that solo lane, maybe taking a couple shots that direction. With the Giannis, that's just a shot at mid. Make sure to keep him away. And then a Merlin ban to round things out. But Tiamat's still open. Raijin's still open. We talk about all these new gods of, now with Ullr kind of jumping in, it almost makes me forget the fact that there's still some really solid top mid laners in the game that teams just kind of seem to be ignoring.
Yeah, I kind of like Pagon getting final pick here in this situation, because Thor, I'm probably going to guess that it's going to be Thor solo and Wukong jungle, just based on the Artisans, because they never do anything the way that most teams otherwise would. You let Pagon see the whole draft before you decide what he wants, because he already knows his lane matchup. He can decide between Tiamat and of course the other Raijin. That's the other one that I was thinking of. That you get your choice. I think with the Rom and Erlong Shen, I mean, that is a lot of dive. Again, the Sleekness goes with these heavy all-in dive compositions that they do basically every time. Getting a mid laner who might be able to survive those things, Raijin or Tiamat can both work pretty well, so it's kind of his choice.
Did I see that stat right on Erlong Shen? Did that say 12 games played and 100% win rate?
It's possible. Erlong's pretty good.
Someone in production can double check that for me, but I think that's what I saw. That is, if we thought the Nike with 20 some odd and 70% was impressive, the fact that you go more than, I would say even 5 or 6 games on a god and have 100% is a pretty telling story. So Sleekness pick up pretty seasoned jungle god for themselves in the Erlong Shen, and then a Tiamat as a 10th pick. Not something I thought I would ever get to say, but I've also seen games where Tiamat just literally goes unlooked at. Nobody seemed to care about or even mention her existence, but Tiamat as a 10th pick here for Sturdy Artisans. How you liking the round out of the draft?
I think that they have exactly the same thing that they did last game, which is really good team fight presence, good team CC, and then this unstoppable support when it comes to team fight sustain. If Sleekness can better coordinate their dive, which is even better than it was last game, then it's going to still be hard for Sturdy Artisans to beat. But between all the peel from this Yamoja and the Thor and the Ullr, I think that could be the case.
Well, it will be Thor in the jungle, so Sino will go back to a more traditional assassin. So hold on, does this make you Mifflin and me Gormizer there?
No, I'm never Mifflin.
You're never Mifflin?
No.
So that means you're Gormizer and I'm Mifflin?
No.
No.
No one's Mifflin besides Mifflin.
Okay,
that's
nobody can be a better Mifflin than Mifflin. I think
no one can be even half of a Mifflin than Mifflin. He's the only one.
That's a good one. It's J-Mac and Aggro here, bringing you guys game number 2 between Sturdy Artisans and Sleekness. And jumping right in, Quig back on the Circuit support. Played it last game, gets to get a nice little run back here. An Oath with I'm not going to call it much of a different play style, just a different god to do the play style. Was the W key set. Now it's the W key Erlong Shen in his hands in the jungle.
Yeah, pretty similar in how they want to execute. You need Blink on Erlong. You don't have that that insane 1v5 potential that Set can sometimes have, but it's still awfully similar to what you want to be doing.
Oh, we'll get a long-range pin against Sino, and Sino's in danger because the dual lane has rotated over. Dude, man, bro picks up first blood for Sleekness, gets themselves on the board early, a nice 500 gold in their favor right off the gate.
Sino's beads on cooldown as well, so Oath might be able to just run him down in his jungle with this Erlong Shen, and that's what this pick does better than nearly any assassin in the game, is punish you for not having beads, especially in the early stages of the game.
And Sino will feel that wrath of it immediately. And a quick rotation over by Oath towards the solo lane. Might look to try and catch Relentless one out, but it's dual lane who's taking a little bit of poke on really both sides for these teams. Moonblast from Ionic will catch a stun on Quig, and that'll cause him to eat a hail of arrows coming out of Griff. Back on the Uller, we saw how much he got to struggle in game number 1 early, but then we get to Uller late game, and Dude Man Bro we really didn't get to push the lead that he established in game number 1. We'll see if he does it here in game 2, and on the ROM, he's going to have just a little bit more attack speed. Maybe not hit immediately as hard, but maybe a little bit more consistent, sustained damage coming out of this ROM.
Interesting that he goes, I mean, he looks like he's going the bow build, which is kind of to be expected. Is Chronic going to get ganked, but a nice little pushback from that barrier formation should save him.
Oath is here, pops in the first ability and immediately dives on Relentless one. The knockup is good, and the basic after even better. Sino trying to fight right back up, but the hammer misses, and that could potentially seal the fate of the jungler. Now Oath is the one in danger. Good push from Chronic will set Sino away from it, and all the way on the dual lane, it's Dude Man Bro getting another kill for Sleekness.
This time it's Griff again who falls early. That's been a theme for him in this set. Obviously was making the plays, but that's not exactly where you want your Uller to be making their plays. How about early game, which is where he's traditionally been so good.
Bubble comes out from Ionic just to poke Dude Man, but now potential purple invade coming out of the dual lane, but Griff is here. He's not going to let this one go for free. Axe Toss hits Quig. A little slow on the transformation back over with the stance switch. They will not be able to secure that purple buff. That gets stolen away, but can they steal their life out? Quig uses the last of his mana to go for the ambush, and the Riptide just off the mark. Ionic not able to pull back in that support. Successful invade by Sleekness.
Maybe Sturdy Artisans can invade in response. I mean, they do have the lane pressure. They have to be worried about this rotation over from Nehu, who's level 5. This is a juicy rotation by this Morgan. This is exactly what you want to see when you're playing a pick like this.
Nehu sneaking by, use the stealth, trying to find an option behind her, maybe just right in their face. Transforms in, 9 turns Blessing, immediately back on Ionic, pins him in front of the Riptide, and Nehu able to strike a kill for himself. Now 4 for Sleekness up. 3.5 minutes in, and Griff, when you may have stayed just a little bit too long, has some mana, can leap away if necessary, but no further chase from Sleekness.
Communication in the early game has not been great so far from the Sturdy Artisans. I mean, Sino dies early, but gonna try and get back into it, but I believe Oath hurt him.
Yeah, Oath will be able to blink out just in time to get away from that Anvil of Dawn, a top back in of his own to grab Sino. Sino does have the hammer in just a moment. If he can get out and get away, get some distance, the stun will make sure to hold Oath back. Griff, however, he's out of mana. No further response from him. Ionic rotating back in. This is probably a fight they still don't want to take. Sino is low, and he's taken down. Oath picks him up, even through the stun. One stun on the Dude Man, but no mana from Griff. Means no further follow-up. Sleekness now have 5 kills, not even 5 minutes in.
Looked like Sino was expecting a heal from Ionic, but Ionic tried to stun instead. And again, the communication, I think, has been really breaking down for Sturdy Artisans. I mean, think back to the first blood, where Sino dies after going for mid-harpies because he curls out towards the outside portion of the map instead of staying north towards mid lane, where I think he likely would have lived, because either he didn't listen to the call that dual lane was rotating towards mid, or that it wasn't called at all. They're a purple buff invade that that's Pagon's job to call that off. If he knows that he doesn't have Nehu there in lane, either doesn't call it off or it isn't listened to, and it's an easy kill for Sleekness yet again.
2-0-2 for Dude Man, 0-0-3 for Quig. A nice little start here in the duo lane for Sleekness. It's netted them about 1,000 gold in the lead early on. The experience pretty much only in favor of that duo lane, really, especially just between Dude Man Bro and Griff. About a 1 level difference between those hunters. Would have thought that with all these rotations over, with all these kills Sleekness had, they would have a bit of a bigger lead. But so early on, there's no objectives up for them to take. There's no Scorpions until this 5-minute mark strikes. The Sturdy Artisans, they're holding in, but that communication, as you're talking about, really has been a little bit lackluster from them in these first few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 gold at 5 minutes is a lot. You know, it's hard to get further ahead than that without numerous buff invades going your way, as well as all the kills at the same time. So it's been a hefty lead.
Sino up in the sky, aiming for Chronic. Will dunk down, but his dunk's a little bit short, and a quick ultimate response out of Chronic, and a push will get Sino and Relentless back away from them. Quig rotates over. With a 4-man rotation here from Sturdy Artisans, they come up unfruitful in their attempts to kill Chronic.
Not even going to be an easy kill even if it lands.
Relentless one gets hit back by the ultimate. Last breath is good. Oath goes in, gets a double taunt from his ultimate, and an immediate jump back in from Sino. Sino is out. Oath gets the kill. Relentless one diving to find one. He'll be able to get a nice little trade out of his own. Picks up 2 from Sleekness. Some fight back from the Artisans, and Oath, he'll have to watch as the rest of his team falls.
Needed something there for the Sturdy Artisans. You cannot afford to let Sino go 0-3 without any sort of response, but it's a big one for Relentless one, who just makes a huge play, getting that double kill, having Ionic there for the backup. Could use this kill on Oath, though.
Oh no, Oath gets stunned out twice. The bubble comes out, and the cudgel from Relentless. Now 3 on the board for Artisans, and what was a 5-0 lead has now been closed down to just 6-3, and the gold lead is pretty much gone. 200 gold for Sleekness in favor, but only 100 experience now. Sturdy Artisans able to tie this right back up.
And Relentless one is massive. And Wukong from significantly ahead feels very, very difficult to deal with because he just has so much mobility, so much escapability in his consistency in getting into the back line. It's very, very difficult to stop. So Nehu is going to be cursing the fact that he just got all 3 of those kills, including a big shutdown onto Oath at the exact same time. Talk about a win condition now. Relentless one is it for the Sturdy Artisans.
Relentless one's been able to make play after play in almost every set that he comes through. He's even had some pretty stellar performances on Camazotz in the past, so I'm not surprised to see that he is able to step up here, but to step up with a early triple kill is huge for him. Maybe not immediately as shown as a triple, but picking up 3 in the fray of that fight will keep the Sturdy Artisans alive, even out the pacing of the game, and even in the duo lane with that big lead that Dude Man Bro had, you can see Griff is right back hot on his heels in the experience department. Maybe only about a half level separating them.
Yeah, not too far apart. I mean, pretty far apart in terms of net worth. You see on the left side there, Dude Man Bro is up about 1,000 gold over Griff by himself, but that means that elsewhere on the map, there's going to be a pretty big lead in order to keep this even, and it is Relentless one up about 1,000 gold over Chronic. So which of these side laners is going to be able to do more with this lead is a big question.
Relentless one in a bit of danger. Chronic and Oath trying to team up to take out the Son of Wukong, but Relentless one has that bird form and use the Bird of Nope to get himself a right on out. Mid lane 2v2, Nehu will get poked up here by Pagon. Relentless does have the Somersault Cloud to go up. Sino's in the sky looking for a dunk target. Now Chronic doesn't have his ult. It's a dunk down, and the double tap is good from Sino. Oath used his ultimate to try and get some. Gets a nice little bit of heal and is able to make it a 1-for-1 trade. Both solo laners go down, but Sino wants to close the gap. The double tap misses. Needs another basic after, but he misses. Just a little too short from it. Now Quick rotates over, but it's Pagon and Ionic on the backside. Oath, there's absolutely no way he's going to make it out of here. Neither is Sino. He gets stunned out, but Oath is low, and Pagon picks him up with the spin.
Quick still has that ultimate available, but don't think it's going to net a kill necessarily. But Nehu is on the way. Maybe they can turn it around, but 2 for 2 on this right-hand side. I think getting that kill onto Relentless one is probably worth Oath's life, but he now has 5 of the 8 kills for Sleekness. All that gold continues to go into his pocket.
And even with, I mean, he traded out 1-for-1 in solo, so it's not like Chronic was able to stay alive and get a whole lot more value amongst all of it. He wasn't able to get a whole lot of extra farm, though it does close up at least the player damage department. I thought that was the net worth from him. I was like, dang, he really closed up that net worth instantly. But no, it's pretty much even on player damage. Nehu hasn't been able to do so much in this game aside from that very first kill that he was a part of, sitting at the bottom of the player damage chart at only 800 so far on this Morgan. Morgan, not really known to be an early game mage, but I mean, still, even sitting at only 800 damage early on, 10 minutes in, seems like Nehu's kind of just playing Farm Simulator more than anything.
Quick linking in and looking for Sino, and he will find him with the ult straight into Oath.
And it's going to be an ultimate out of Oath, but a quick teleport out by Sino, and now both ultimates from Sleekness have been expended. Nehu is stealthed out looking for a target, but he won't find anybody. Instead, it's Pagon returning fire right back towards Quig. Half health on the support. Dude Man versus Sino. The stun will miss from Sino, so Dude Man will walk away. And Griff is more than happy just getting a little bit of extra solo farm here in this duo lane, try and mitigate some of that lead that's been brought up by Sleekness, at least try and mitigate some of that lead that Dude Man Bro has had over him this game.
Yeah, Griff's playing nice and patiently, but maybe not anymore.
Dude Man, he's going to be zoned off by the wall, where as soon as it falls down, he'll rotate out, up in the sky. Needs all 3 snipes just to get some kind of damage, but the shields and the healing are just too much from Ionic. He'll fall right down in the midst of it, and the double tap from Sino takes him out, and immediately up into the Anvil of Dawn is the jungler. Nehu gets a transformation of his own, but doesn't get much value out of it. Sino dunks down right behind Quig, throws out the hammer, but he gets stunned out on his own. Quig now goes for the chase, but he doesn't have that ultimate available. Sino may be able to live, and Nehu is under fire. The bubble is almost enough to take him out. Quig leaps away, and Griff won't have enough damage to take him down, so it's just a 1-kill swing on the left-hand side, but maybe more if Oath rotates in.
He does, and blinks in, but doesn't find quite enough. Pagon putting out good damage already on this Tiamat. It is crazy that Nehu ends up living, and Quig. They both survive throughout. That's nuts.
Relentless goes up in the cloud, hunting for Chronic, but Chronic is more than out. A little too much distance covered there for the Sun Wukong to close the gap. Ionic is still sitting in this lane. Those Riptides may be enough to save his life. A taunt in from Oath, some good damage against Ionic, but another Riptide and another Riptide. Make sure that Yamoja gets out nice and cleanly, and never a fun time trying to chase Yamoja, not just through 1 Riptide, but 3.
Yeah, that's not happening. Even with Quig's ultimate, just not enough damage. Because of the smart build from Ionic, he goes Sovereignty right off the rip. And with some of the recent changes to Yamoja, you don't need to worry as much about what type of itemization you're shoehorned into and how much mana am I getting. All those sorts of things are a lot less important than they used to be. And so you're kind of freed up to go with a build that you would rather have. And in this game, when it's 4 physicals plus a Morgan who's going to be transforming into physicals, yeah, give me Sovereignty right off the bat, and that's what made the difference.
Not just that, a Lotus Crown, so a lot of physical protections right off the bat. And Ionic will also get a little bit more when he does land a heal onto one of his targets for him and for the target available. Pagon will take a bit of damage. Quig on the wrong side of the wall. He'll have to dash away as quickly as he can, but Pagon is pelting him with damage from that Primordial Onslaught. And Quig will be forced to walk back under the Tier 1 tower. That's really his only safe place, but it may not be too much safer. Relentless and Chronic have made their rotations towards this mid lane. Chronic goes in the back lane for Pagon. Some good damage against the mid laner. River's Rebuke comes out, but Sino is in the sky. Where will he dunk down? Quig will use his own ultimate and right into a triple dunk from Sino, but a quick immediate transition back out. Both the junglers have decided to walk out. Oath pops his ultimate, and Dude Man with his rotation picks up Relentless one, but it's a stun out. An axe toss, the hail of arrows, and the bladed arrow just a little off the mark. The bubble not going to connect. Dude Man does get to make it out.
I cannot believe that Sleekness didn't lose anyone in that play. They don't lose Dude Man, they don't lose Quig. Everyone was able to get away on a sliver of HP, despite the sturdy Artisans, I think, having a much better course through that team fight where Pagon gets gone on, but good peel lets him get out. Sino with the big dunk, they still don't get paid on it.
Goldfury started up. Nehu picks up one, a leap in by Chronic. Goldfury gets leashed and picked right back up, and Sleekness steal it right from under the sturdy Artisans' nose. Another objective now going the way of Sleekness. Sturdy Artisans, they're down 2,700 gold, 2,500 experience in a big mid lane team fight. Sturdy Artisans, they make the solid call to try and go for the objective. I don't think they realized how many members of Sleekness were still sticking around.
Yeah, it felt like a bit of a frustration call to me because, you just have to know that Sleekness is still going to be there in force. Probably a little bit annoyed that they did so many things well in that fight, but didn't get any kills, that they were the only one to lose a member. On the way out, they can just think, whatever, let's just go gold. At least we get something that way. But then you lose Ionic, then you lose the Gold Fury, and all of a sudden Sleekness are back off to a solid lead.
All that build, lead that Relentless one had is effectively been nullified just by that last little fight. Now it's Chronic who has a 1-level lead. Oath is up. Pretty much everybody across the board has at least a half level or more. Even Dude Man Bro now being able to expand his lead just a little bit. 3, 1, and 2, and just picked up his Wind Demon. So Crit is now online for Dude Man Bro. And if you thought he was swinging hard earlier, well, now he's going to hurt just a little bit more.
Very, very strong point in his build.
Quig, he'll dive in, finds Sino, hits him with the ultimate, a quick teleport out by Sino, and the shields make sure to keep him alive, but Oath is on the hunt for him, taunts him right back in with the ultimate. Sino is trying to dance for as long as he can, but it's Dude Man Bro who puts him down. Pagon and Griff rotating in, trying to find anybody they can, with Relentless slowing down the backliner. It's a good Riptide and a River's Rebuke from Ionic to hold him in place. Quig is low, but in the sky is Dude Man, able to get away from the damage, able to stay away for as long as possible. Even immunes out The ultimate coming from Relentless One. Instead, it's Nehu who turns it right back on him and picks him off.
Good stun onto Oath, but it's Sturdy Artisans on the run because Sleekness yet again have been able to weather the storm. That time, having a really good start to that fight, knowing that Sino was in some danger right away. Sino a little greedy with purification beads. I believe he had them for the vast majority of that fight, but didn't use them. Tried to live with just using the Aegis, and Sleekness punished him nicely.
Chronic will go right back over to the solo lane and get some more farm for himself, looking to finish off that third item in his slot is a Bulwark of Hope from Relentless One, even a Jotun's Rat picked up there with the Glad Shield. So a little bit of cooldown reduction on both of these solo laners, though the tankiness maybe slightly in favor of Relentless. But, I mean, who can ever argue with a massive health shield that Chronic's been able to pick up with the Sentinel of Zeus, and then if he goes back and gets a Bulwark of his own, that can be a secondary health shield whenever his other one does fall off. And it will indeed be a Bulwark of Hope. So some magical defense over the way of the solo lane for Chronic, but also just more health, more shield.
Bulwark definitely becoming a bit more popular these days. Got a buff. Now it has 80 magical protection,
That's
which
a lot.
is so much. And then, of course, the health and the shield. I mean, you got to get a lot of really good stats for an item that isn't really that expensive. And especially when mid laners are waiting so long on their percent pen, you can afford to go for this item early and have it feel really good.
Quick diving in against Relentless and Ionic, trying to seal away blue buff. Instead, it'll be an ultimate burn on the Sun Wukong. Gets him out of the Ox transformation, forces the ultimate from Relentless One. Immediately, it's an Oath under the tower. Try and pick off anybody they can. Relentless dives back in, only hits Dude Man. Dude Man's got enough lifesteal to stay alive. The decoy will chase out Sleekness, but Tier 1 tower is already gone. Tier 2 tower could be on the dock. Relentless gets a stun against Chronic with that Tiger form, but Quig, again, diving into backline, finds one, but gets stunned out instantly. Pagon, and now Sino up in the sky, dives down, finds two. Quig gets evaporated and immediately erased off the board. Snipes from Dude Man are good, but not enough to get any of the killing blows. Oath goes in, but he's got no ultimate, and now no mobility. Pagon stunned out,
Vegas.
and immediately has to go away. Consume is good. For now, Sturdy Artisans live, and Sleekness are down 4-5.
Griff looking for this axe, finds it on the Chronic. Combos there, but Chronic's beads will get him out of the danger for the time being. That's just an overextension by Sleekness, diving way too deep, trying to all in onto Ionic underneath the Tier 2. Just didn't love that call from Sleekness, and a pretty good punish there for Sturdy Artisans.
And those carries just ate a arrow volley there. That's what I was looking for. Looking for a volley from Griff. Took about 300-400 damage each, and they'll make an immediate back away. But even with the victory on that fight, there's nothing on the map for the Artisans to take. They don't have the damage or the health to try and fight the Fire Giant. Pyro and Fury are both still down. They can't even try and go really for a Tier 1 tower. The only one they had the option towards was that right side one, but Chronic rotates over, make sure that one doesn't go down. Fury is about to come back up. So Sturdy Artisans are grouping around it, but this could maybe just be a bait, see if they can pull anyone forward.
Yeah, I don't think that overall Sturdy Artisans should be too concerned with Sleekness' positioning here. I mean, they've got a pretty hefty advantage in where Pagon's positioning is right now.
Relentless One at half health. Ultimate comes out. The shield makes sure that Relentless One eats most of the damage just via way of shield, so none of it Relentless health bar will be at risk. Instead, it'll just now be the only Fury that could be at risk. Sturdy Artisans started up. Sleekness on the move. Quig now without an ultimate. Oath without an ultimate. They're going to have to do what they can in the midst of this fight. Even Nehu just now getting his back online. A dive in the back from Quig and Oath, trying to find anybody that they can. Nehu transforms into the Nike, uses his own ultimate, but he's getting taunted away. The River's Rebuke are good to hold him back. Snipes are good. 3 shots, not enough. Sino with just enough health, able to scrape on by. Chronic, though, he is not giving up on this fight just yet. He'll make sure to push all 5 of the Sturdy Artisans out.
Really good attempt there by the Sturdy Artisans, but Sleekness just a little bit too wary of what was happening. A River's Rebuke splits up the team fight nicely, but when you've got 2 Nikes, that's just so much front line that you have to chew through, and Griff and Pagon just don't have the damage quite yet. This front line has just been a little bit too strong from Sleekness, and I think that once the pen starts coming out from Griff and Pagon, neither of whom have any percent pen right now, it's going to get a lot easier for the Sturdy Artisans, because I think that they've done a better job of playing these team fights a little bit front to back, but Sleekness with all their CC and all their tankiness have just been hard to punish.
Sino teleports into the hammer, and he's going to get thrown right back into the Sleekness' backline as the Aegis holds him off for just a little bit longer, but it's a taunt in from Oath to really disrupt the fight. Oath is now on the run, but he'll get his heal back from that 9 turns blessing. Sino too low in the fight. He'll have to go back to base, and the rest of the Sturdy Artisans, they'll back up. Sleekness, Used a lot of ultimates in that fight. 3 of them, they don't get any kills, but they at least push the Artisans back.
Well, they have no anti-heal outside of 1 Cursed Ankh for Quig, and that was on cooldown. So you might be thinking to yourself, how in the world does Cyno live through that amount of CC with no beads and no hammer? And it's because he just got spam healed by Ionic, and there just was no anti-heal whatsoever from Sleekness to counteract it. It crazy to me that we're 20 minutes in and they've got 1 piece of anti-heal. They need more.
Shields are good, man. And it's not even just the healing. It's those shields that come from that Yemoja that are just the trickiest thing to deal with. And they have that Cursed Ankh. They're able to burn through those shields a little bit quicker, and maybe they don't have to worry about it. We got to be back up for the next fight, but Ionic will also have his ultimate up for this next fight. So keep your eyes set on where that Rivers Rebuke lands in the middle of these team fights. Nehu does have a decent bit of cooldown in his build so far. Actually, only has that Spear of Desolation, so just has the 10%. Man, 10% on the Morgan just feels like it's an eternity till you're going to get that transformation back up.
It is a long cooldown for sure, but you can do so much in that time period where you have that cooldown up. Makes sense.
Cyno up in the sky. His target will be Dude Man, but he misses wide, and Dude Man smacks him with a couple of 400 crits. It puts him right down in the dirt. Chronic able to get the kill, and Relentless One using the Somersault Cloud just to heal up and disengage, but it's Quig who dies in the back line, finds the ult on Griff and a dive in, and immediately uses those Riptides from Ionic to try and escape, but the snipes from Dude Man Bro are hitting Griff for so much. Nehu dives in with an ultimate of his own, but doesn't find anybody. It's a nice knock up there from Pagon to hold the members of Sleekness off, but a solid pick against Cyno.
I mean, he was looking for Dude Man Bro because he only had a few seconds left on his beads timer. You can one-shot from this position, but just ends up missing it. All in commits a little bit too much, and Sturdy Artisans have no choice but to run.
Fire Giant under fire here by Sleekness, and no one from Artisans are going to be able to respond for objective. Their first Fire Giant of the set goes the way of Sleekness, and they've got about a 7,000 gold lead to their names here at 22 minutes. It's a big lead. It can only get worse. Relentless One taunted in. No ultimate available to himself just yet. He'll use the beads to walk past the barrier, but I don't know if those beads were going to be enough. Damage is just too much from Sleekness, and even the Tier 2 tower may not be safe.
I don't think it will be. I mean, they've got Fire Giant now for an extended period of time. You lose Relentless One for 40-plus seconds. That's going to be a lot of time that Sleekness have the 5v4 and are looking pretty good in the relic department.
Cyno is waiting in the jungle, has ultimate, can go for a dunk, will go up in the sky, but who will the target be again? It's Dude Man, but Beads and Aegis are back up for the carry. He'll use the Beads to walk out instantly, and he's got some lifesteal to try and get himself back in the fight. Quick little disengage from Sleekness, but they get the ultimate out of Cyno. Still losing out on their Beads because of it, and I even think the Ankh got burned in the midst of that fight, so a nice little retreat here from Sleekness. They don't get the Phoenix, but they at least got that Tier 2 tower.
Got the Tier 2, and it's just the Anvil of Dawn and Rivers Rebuke that shoved them off, but they only lose the beads from Dude Man Bro. Still, that's a pretty hefty price, because if Cyno just can be consistent with landing that Anvil of Dawn, then Dude Man Bro should be getting close to dying every fight. I mean, if Cyno can finish Heartseeker before the next one, before the next fight begins, I think with just Heartseeker, that's enough to one-tap him through the CC chain. But, you know, that it requires a lot. You've got to pre-beads as soon as you land so that you can get your full 1 auto, 2 auto, 3 off. And even then, you might get interrupted on the last part of your 3, so maybe you would just have to land, auto, 1, beads, 2, 3. You know, you gotta try and figure it out so that you don't get interrupted by all of this CC that Sleekness have.
Man, the small intricacies of being a Thor player. It's not so easy. It's just go up in the sky, dunk down, and smack abilities. You got to weave a couple of those basics in there. It's always fun to watch. Very high-level Thor play because you never know. It used to be with how long the spin used to be, it used to require you to throw out the one first, but you can even sometimes just dunk down, spin around real quick, and, well, maybe they're still CC'd long enough to go ahead and throw that wall after, and then go at the hammer, use it for a disengage, but we'll see what Cyno likes to do in these next couple of fights. He's been making solid targets. The second time before this last little fight didn't go so well for him. Made a couple of 400-plus crits, and Pagon just walked forward and died.
I don't know how he died that fast. He was full health, wasn't he? What happened to him?
I imagine probably a double tap from a Dark Omen coming through, and Cyno, he at least gets a nice 1-for-1 trade. That'll take out the carry and slow down these Phoenix Sieges, but not for much longer. An ultimate from Oath misses Cyno, but Quig's ult will hit him, and the shields and the healing will be enough for Ionic to keep Cyno alive. Anka's popped, Rivers Rebuke comes out, and it's 2 caught in the middle of the waves. Oath tries to run back, Quig and Chronic get tapped by it, and Nehu will be able to walk out. It's a left side Phoenix down, but a 1-for-1 trade.
And if Pagon just wasn't where he was on that play, then Sturdy Artisans don't lose left side Phoenix. They're able to push Sleekness back easily. Just a big mispositioning problem there from Pagon that cost Sturdy Artisans.
Blinking by Quig, doesn't find anybody. And now Sleekness will finally retreat. Maybe. Okay, maybe not. Quig is wants the fight. Maybe he's just zoning so the rest of his team can't. Loses that Fire Giant buff, but Sleekness at least happy with the results they're able to get from that fight.
Yeah, still, you get the left side Phoenix. It's not all bad, and you know your beads will be back up now for Dude Man Bro. But we see the threat for this Thor is that if he finds Nehu or Dude Man Bro with no beads, they will die. It is very simple for the Thor, and this is before he gets his Bumba's Hammer or Bumba's Spear, either upgrade that he decides to go for, both of which up that chance pretty significantly.
Yeah, seeing how close to a one-tap can this Thor get? That's the ultimate question Sino is trying to ask here. Does have the Heartseeker, now the Bumba's Spear picked up. On the other side, Oath goes to the Mannequin Hidden Blade, so he'll get a little bit of extra burst damage off of initial engagements. And, well, he'll just go ahead and take the 1v1 here against the Pyromancer, and he'll win that battle every day. All right, Chronic, you didn't have to do that, man. You could have just let him solo it, but I guess, you know, help him out, get it a little bit sooner so you guys can set up for other parts on the map. Sure, be a team player, Chronic. Just let him solo it, man.
Yeah, you know, we just got it, so it's all that matters, I suppose, at that point. Interesting that Pagon has gotten double 20% pen items to finish out the build. It was really feeling that same thing that we were talking about a bit ago with how staunch the front line was for Sleekness, trying to get to that 30% mark. And if you're going to be going both of these, then it makes sense to go Charon's first, not just for the stacks, but because the Tier 2 of Obsidian has 10% pen, whereas Tier 2 of Charon's does not. So now he's sitting at 30% pen. If he can finish off that Obsidian shard, it will make a pretty big difference, that extra 10% plus the passive.
Oh, now maybe a pincer maneuver here by Sleekness. Chronic playing the bait while the rest of Sleekness move through, but it looks like they may have gotten caught on a wave there right at the tail end. Relentless will take out the decoy. Quig goes in, but misses the Cobra's Kiss. Pagon charging that Primordial Onslaught, but everybody just a little too far to get hit by the damage by it. Sleekness trying to set up around this Fire Giant. They'll get 4 down to the bottom end, and Chronic at the front line, but now that damage is coming online from Sino, even he is starting to chunk away at these health bars of these frontliners.
Even Chronic can't really stand in front of him forever anymore, but Nehu going in.
Up in the sky is Sino. Where will his dunk target be? It's been Dude Man consistently, and it looks like it'll be that same call, except this time it's Oath. Immediately uses his own ultimate, 9 turns Blessing expended, Relentless low, and he's already used his ultimate to try and disengage. Him and Sino both don't have ults. Rebuke is up, and Sino just makes it away. The third snipe, not enough damage. Oath trying to close in the gap. He'll have to turn his sights elsewhere. Primordial Onslaught, oh my lord. Oath's health bar just evaporated, 3/4 of it gone in an instant by Pagon.
That's huge, and this left side, Phoenix is coming up shortly for the Sturdy Artisans. They've been able to buy themselves time, at the very least, and really only Sino and Relentless One used relics in that last fight. Pagon and Griff still nice and clean in the relic department, which is huge.
You know, both junglers, relics down, Sleekness
yeah,
trying
same
to
thing
posture
on the other
up.
side, right?
Yeah, Sleekness trying to posture up around this Fire Giant, but Oath had to go back to base. Pagon will go back as well, and Sino will just make sure and clear out those minions. As you highlighted, that left side Phoenix is about to come back up. If he can push maybe this wave and maybe even one more after, they can guarantee that they can fight around this right side just at least a little bit longer, but Sino will push up the wave, and with that left side Phoenix, or their right side Phoenix, map visually left side Phoenix, back up. Now Sturdy Artisans can maybe try and make an answer around this Fire Giant. Sleekness has already started.
Quick takes that knockup though, and it's going to take a pretty significant amount of poke because of it, but look at the crits, it's already gone.
Yeah, Fire Giant almost out and immediately take away. Sturdy Artisans steal a Relentless One all by himself, grabs that Fire Giant, but Criff is the one who's paying the price for it. He gets bursted out, but Pagon takes out the carry. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Both hunters are down. Neonic gets hit by the Yonk. Oath is in danger because 3 members of Artisans have collapsed around him. Sino stunned out and bursted by Nehu. Quig tries to find anybody in the back line, but Chronic is still at full health on this Nike, and Quig is the one on the run. Relentless One slows him down with the Master's Will. Cudgel is needed to finish the kill, but Quig is just too slippery. He'll make it out.
Just barely, but Pagon's still healthy enough. Relics still has his beads, but he's going to jump in looking to hunt down Nehu.
Knock-up is good. Nehu is surrounded by 3, and the Rivers Rebuke cut off any escape path. Sturdy Artisans, they steal away the Fire Giant. They steal 3 lives, and Chronic has to sit by and watch it. It's now only the frontliners of Sleekness left alive.
It was Ionic who stole away that FG with just that Yamoja 1. Came in at the perfect timing, steals it away from Sleekness, and again, the weighted coin flip that just doesn't fall Sleekness's way. Just a great play from Ionic. It's got to feel good to get triple banned in both games, look very good on the pick that you played last game, and then come in and steal fire with this one. I mean, clearly a lot of respect paid his way, but he's still finding a way to make a huge impact.
Still coming up big and has closed that gold lead. Now only 6,800, whereas close to that 10, 11,000 mark for Sleekness. Now again, we're getting close to that stage where gold is less and less important, though. There are still some 6th items that need to be purchased by a few players, namely the supports are lacking theirs, and Relentless One hasn't had his opportunity. Even Griff still waiting to get his final item on the board. He does have that Bumba Spear picked up, one with triple mace and a Transcendence, so you better believe if Griff gets his hands on anybody, at least any frontliner, they're probably going to be one-tapped.
Yeah, that's the point of the build that he's in, at the very least. And remember that there isn't a lot of anti-heal on the other side for Sleekness. It has been a Toxic Blade pickup, but other than that, this emoji healing is going to be perfect outside of the Yonk.
I mean, it's just one person at a time he can really target that unless he hits a few with the cleave auto on that Erlong Shen, but has not been able to be the case as of yet. Nehu will find some damage against Relentless, and it'll be a bubble pop on the opposite side. Relentless goes up in the cloud because he'll take some good damage from Dude Man. Bro, those crits really start to chunk through this Sun Wukong's health bar. He'll dive back in. A quick blink out. Sino up in the sky. There's a few surrounded. It's a double dunk in by Sino. Use the hammer, but he doesn't able to get that one off. Quig hits him with the ultimate. Chronic gets the credit for the kill, and the snipes from Dude Man Bro almost are enough to take out Relentless One. It's a 5v4 now for Sleekness. They continue the onslaught in. Quig dives in, finds Griff, and big crits up against him. Griff is low. The healing and shields are enough to get him out, but it's Ionic and Relentless One who now pay the price. Oath picks him up, and with the Riptide, Ionic tries to run as fast as he can, but I don't think that's going to be fast enough.
No, Dude Man Bro is going to be able to find him, but Pagon kills Nehu, and now Quig may fall as well. The backline from the Sturdy Artisans still alive.
Primordial Onslaught just chunks through 2 different health bars. Pagon will turn back around and fire some more damage at Dude Man. Throws the stun, but misses. Oath takes a little bit of damage from Grip, but a roll in from Dude Man isn't enough to take him down. Now it's Pagon versus the world. The spin hits 3. Tanky on this team up, but not tanky enough. Dude Man Pro picks up the double kill and the deicide for Sleekness.
Relentless One just starts off that fight in such an awkward position. I mean, goes way too deep to try and get the kill on the Nehu and only gets his Magi's, then takes too much damage, kind of dunks down, and is easily collapsed upon by Sleekness. And just like that, the huge play from Ionic where they earn Fire Giant for the majority of their team no longer matters because every Fire Giant is now off of the Sturdy Artisans. They don't lose a Phoenix despite getting decided. You don't see that very often past 30 minutes, but because that fight took so long and Pagon and Griff were able to buy so much time, they at least don't lose anything of serious value, just a Primal Fury.
Deathbringer is online for Dude Man Bro, and that's why you see in these crits start to chunk past any health bar, whether it's frontline, backline, objective. Dude Man Bro is taking names with these crits.
Yeah.
He's got a double crit item, finished up his cowl, so he is officially full build and just purchased an Elixir of Power, a 3,000 gold investment for this hunter. You thought those crits hurt? Whew! Get ready, they're gonna hurt just a little bit more.
Yeah, we're talking big numbers like about to come out from
800-900 on frontliners, maybe.
Very, very possible for him to really shred.
Relentless One, he's gonna get shredded by. I mean, look at this. He's doing 400 to a backliner, to a defense tanked out target. Even Sino is in danger. Rivers Rebuke come out. He does not have the ultimate available to get himself out. The shields are just enough. The extra little bit of healing. Ionic saves his life, but the snipes from Dude Man Bro not going to be enough to take him out. Sino gets to live to see another day, but rather costly, and Rivers Rebuke expended to get him out. Didn't have his relics up, and those will be back up for this next fight.
Yeah, not so bad for Sturdy Artisans to not lose Sino in that instance. Good aggressive play from Sleekness. I like the idea, but look at how many ultimates it cost them to try and get that working. I mean, 4 ultimates on cooldown for Sleekness, and Sturdy Artisans, they don't have nearly as much burn on this Fire Giant, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them pull it anyways just because of the ultimate advantage.
Okay, now I know those are camps, but that was 1,200 crits coming out of Dude Man Bro, and Can only imagine what that's going to do to anybody on Sturdy Artisans. They've started a Fire Giant down to half health. Yannick will hold on to it for the time being, but Quig is wrapping around the backside, aiming for Griff. Griff will spot him out and put some nice return damage against him. The Bull charges out, and the Minotaur will hold Quig away. Relentless One again in the front line. Sano goes for the dunk, but he misses everybody and pays with his life. Oath picks him up, and now it's Relentless One. He has to expend the ultimate. He dunks right down, but Dude Man is holding his ground right against him, and an ultimate out from Chronic and Neu. The double Nike is just too much for him. 600 plus crits, slamming through the backliners. Dude Man picks up the double kill. Relentless One flying away on the bird as fast as he can, but Sleekness looks like they can just close this game out.
That should be game. No shot. Sturdy Artisans are able to survive this time. Sino just goes in deep again, but ends up not getting anything and dies with both of his relics up. That time, Pagon and Griff ended up a little bit too grouped up, and were just able to be easily corralled by the double Nike.
Sports having a little bit of fun with each other. Quig knows that he can't go back in, and he knows that Iana can't make his way back in. So it'll be game number 2 going to Sleekness here to tie up our set and make things a little bit interesting here in our third set of the day between these North American powerhouses fighting for that 3rd seed. Winner of this set guarantees to take that 3rd seed, but I think maybe with that one, that's all about all they can take. I think with that, the Herculean Hooves will make sure to at least hold their 2nd seed spot.
Yeah, I mean, impressive comeback by Sturdy Artisans, and then a better comeback by Sleekness, just able to finally iron out some of those details, and Dude Man Bro had a much better game.
Yeah, Dude Man Bro finally able to use that lead that he got for himself early on. With it, would take the set to a tie, and we'll take ourselves to a break, and then we'll come right back for game number 3.
say that life's too short to be holding this tight. So why am I walking light? And in this world of light and color, I'm not afraid of the night. When this future's so bright, yeah, I got all these friends and we're like, it's not the end. Whoa, this new world is ours. This new world is ours, and all these friends and we're like, it's not the end. Whoa, this new world is ours. This new world is ours. This new world is ours. They say that life's too short, and I can feel in my bones. The horizon is close now, now, now. And the world's been changing lately, but after the storm, we come out strong now, now. And I got all these friends, and we're like, it's not the end. Whoa, this new world is ours. This new world is ours, and all these friends, and we're like, it's not the end. Whoa, this new world is ours. This new world is ours. This new world is ours.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back here for the Smite Challenger Circuit. Getting ready to hop into game number 3. Let's take a look at the stats for game number 2. A little bit of apologies, as you kind of noticed with the extra timers. We've had a little bit of complications around the studio as far as power is concerned, so we are going to jump right into the post-game stats for game number 2. Talk a little bit about these teams before we get ready to hop into game number 3. And Dudeman, bro, at first he wasn't really able to utilize that lead in duo lane, but then we got to those late game stages, those crits started coming in, and that's where we really got to see the power of this ROM.
Yeah, Rom looked a lot better than the Cupid in the last game. I mean, some of it was Sino just absolutely tossing himself at Dude Man Bro in these team fights, but you gotta play with the hand you're dealt, and that's exactly what he did. So it was
that's what happened to him.
Yeah, so it was Oath who one shot him.
Okay, right? it was a mannequin hidden blade off of a blink pin that took him out. That's what ended up. That'll do it. Yeah, when you don't have those protections, that's what will kill that mid laner. I thought maybe Neu had a hand in it, but no, that one was pretty much just all Oath. And then from there, the rest of these fights were just revolving around Dude Man Bro. I mean, he's chunking frontliners for over 350 a crit, and I can only imagine what he was doing to the backliners if he managed to get his hands on them. I mean, 633 up against some of these squishier targets. I can't even say squishier because that was a grounded stance Tiamat, who has even more protections.
Yeah, it was impressive stuff from Dude Man Bro in this game. So we'll see what he can do in Game 3.
Yeah. One thing we will give you the warning because of the little power issues we're having, not able to bring you guys picks and bans, so we will be hopping right into game number 3 between Sleekness and Sturdy Artisan right off the get-go. Now we get to kind of evaluate some of the picks that have popped in. Relentless One and Sino going with the double assassin. Then Pagon on the Ul mid this time around. Won't be seeing him in the Hunter position in Griff's hands. Instead, we will see the Kronos going for Griff. And on the other side of the board, somehow, some way, Oath was able to pick up a Susano. That's been banned away from him almost exclusively throughout this entire set. And even Nehu will get to pick up the Tiamat. So not sure where all that fell in the line. And then we get to see a Kuzenbo pop in where Quig had been playing that Circuit time and time again.
Yeah, interesting that it's going to be Kronos ADC here for Griff. Kronos definitely not a god. You know, if you're getting Uller and having some struggles with it, Uller thought of as one of the premier gods in the high level right now. Kronos not exactly that same level right now. So we'll see what Griff can do. Probably just trying to get him something slightly safer in that laning phase.
We do have a Sands of Time out of Griff, so he's just going to get a little bit of cooldown, a little bit of mana sustain. Does have that tier 1 magic focus, so going for some early pen as a first item. And in the dual lane, it's been control, pretty much just nothing but control out of Quig. He has used his blink, and now Oath, he'll get CC'd under the mid tier 1. That's thanks to that Uller will provide a little bit for them. Oath, he'll take about half his health, but he will hold on to, well, he only had a blink. He didn't go for a safety relic, went for something very aggressive out of that jungle spot.
Yeah, that's what you want to see out of your jungler, in my opinion, is early blinks. Just try and get on the enemy backline before they have the damage to out-trade you. I think I like it for both the Susano and the Nemesis.
Is Sino okay? Well, hold on. That's a different topic than what I was going to go to. Sino might not be okay. Does get both the dashes, so he will be okay. What I was trying to say is Sino okay for, is this the second game in a row we've seen him on a traditional assassin? I mean, it's normally the Warriors, the Guardians, even the Kali that we got to see come out of him last week. But seems we've got 2 assassins in a row. A little bit odd here for Sino.
It is, but they're also 2 assassins that not a whole lot of other people are playing right now, which is acceptable in the Sino rulebook. So you get to go Thor, not many people playing that. Now Nemesis, not many people playing that. Those are assassins that Sino has played a lot of in his career, so makes some sense that that's the direction that he wants to go. I think Nem is probably a little bit underplayed right now and is pretty solid.
Double root from Ionic after the wall break, so all these gods get banned away from Ionic, and unfortunately we don't get to see what those picks and bans were to see what got taken away from Ionic, but he gets to go right back to the Terra that he had in game number 1, so very interesting to see that Sleekness is even kind of giving these up time and time, or that Sleekness is able to get some of these gods, considering he has been the most target banned out of everybody. I think both of the first 2 games, the entirety of the first ban phase was directed immediately at Ionic. So, in fact, I mean, he gets a Terra. I mean, there's not much more you can say. Is Ionic got target banned multiple games, got multiple good gods, and now he gets to go back to a Terra game 3.
Yeah, but it's the Odin on the other side again. I mean, that wasn't a problem in game 1 for the Sturdy Artisans, but certainly could have been. Probably feel a little bit fortunate that it ended up going their way with how the beginning of that game started at the very least.
Relentless one back on one of his hyper carries in this Camazotz. We've seen multiple strong performances out of him. I think he pulled up a quadra and then a separate triple kill in like the last 10 minutes of one game that he got with this. So a guy that he's very comfortable and very familiar with, and Quig needs a little bit of comfort of his own. He'll get stunned out by the stop time, and the time Rift will do some extra damage. Sino trying to box in Zoom-Man. They split up their decision making, and it may cost them someone's life. Ionic, he'll get pushed under the tier 1 tower, but Quig is out. A little bit of awkward target selection there by Sleekness.
Yeah, that's the second time I've seen it happen in this way. They definitely just needed to have better communication. Sino needed to be on Quig in that moment because Quig was the much easier kill to make happen. Doomman Bro was never going to get hit by anything Griff or Ionic was going to throw at him from that distance, and they needed the damage.
Ooh, Oath blinks in but misses the Siphon. He'll throw the Jet Stream out and get some good damage. Sino will be able to walk away with the help of the shield. Now Oath in danger. He'll have to throw out the Typhoon. Hits 2 with it. Jukes out the time Rift, but gets rooted out in place, and Pagon able to put him down. It's a kill on the board for Sturdy Artisans. Able to get a nice little one here early on.
Just a bit of an overextension there by Oath. I think once that Wind Siphon misses, he's just got to take the L in that moment and go, that stinks. You know, missed my blink 2. Let's just get the oracles and head back. Just good rotation over from Sturdy Artisans to utilize the pressure they have in this lane. And then Quig on a god that isn't Circuit takes him a little bit longer to get there to help.
Interesting to note that Chronic didn't go for the Bluestone pendant this time on the Odin. Instead, he goes for that Warrior's Axe, or on the opposite side, it's Relentless one. Picking up a Bluestone for the Camus, also just getting some extra damage in lane to try and deal with this Odin. Relentless one is level 7. He'll eat a stun. He'll take the cage, but he's got bad out of health, so he'll be able to swoop away. Not before he takes a little bit of extra damage, but he'll make it back to safety. Rotation from Sino will make sure that the blue buff does go their way. So Relentless One, he gets a nice consolation prize, forces the cage, and gets his buff.
Yeah, caged for Camazot's ult, that's what Odin is wanting to do all the time, is just trade ultimate cooldowns. Not as low of a cooldown as it used to be for that Ring of Spears, but still pretty manageable. Going to be coming back before the Camazots.
Chronic, he wants to try and take away that Totem of Coup, and I think that did manage to go the way of Sino. I'm not sure who got that last little basic to steal that one away, or maybe if it was the tick of the spear that confirmed it. I don't see the ring around the top side of these maps, so maybe that did go towards 30 yards. So it is just Totem of Coup, you know, you lose one, no big deal. You lose too many of them, well, now you got your mid laner and your carrier yelling at you.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be yelling no matter what. That's the reality of the situation. So sometimes you just gotta let them know that that's part of the plan, is to give up a little pressure over there in that lane. But with Odin, you definitely want to be trying to bully out. It seems like it's been Relentless One's lane for Coup at the very least, though, because the Sturdy Artisans have all 4 Totem of Coup so far.
Sturdy Artisans want control of that objective, allow Pagon to free cast a little bit more in mid lane, getting that extra mana sustain. So important for the Yule, and that's why you do see a Transcendence Rush out of him in mid, along with that Bumba's Dagger, so he's got a little bit of extra power, and now we'll have a lot of extra power and a lot of extra mana to his name. I mean, that item gives an absurd amount of mana. At one point, I mean, you have more mana than you do health on these hunters. It's crazy to see just how much that item provides.
Yeah, it's definitely really solid for exactly what Uller wants to do, which is stand around and throw a lot of abilities around and make sure that you can never run out of mana doing so. And even with Transcendence, sometimes you can find yourself running a little low. So you can't just spam incessantly. You got to wait until a little bit later when you've got something like a Jotuns to give you a little bit of extra mana. But
he's already got more.
Yeah, certainly has plenty.
1,400 mana, 1,250 health. And he's not even fully stacked yet. He's barely even halfway stacked on this Transcendence. He gets, I think it's at like 15 mana per stack on that item. And then nice little tail end to the boot. He'll get some cooldown reduction once he does have that fully stacked up 10% to his name. Now the Lizards will pop out in the mid lane from Nehu just to put a little bit of poke against Pagon. He's not worried. The rest of the team might need to be the ones worried. Sino stuck inside the cage. Relentless One takes half his health from Nehu. A leap in by the mid laner. Sino, he'll make it out alive, and it could be a quick escape for the double assassins of Sturdy Artisans. A nice quick retreat. Quig is there, but he's not going to find anybody with his push.
Yeah, didn't mind the idea there from Chronic. I mean, Nemesis, a character that has no easy way out of the cage and needs to chop her way out the hard way. And without anyone around, that's going to be pretty difficult to do. So I like the idea, but Oath was just kept a little bit too busy on the other end, and certainly Chronic doesn't have the damage to solo kill the Nemesis all by himself. And it was good patience coming from Sino to not just drop that ultimate right away. I think a lot of players would have instantly dropped the ultimate onto the Odin to try and steal its protections away and make you a little bit tankier in that cage, but Sino had some pretty good presence of mind to look around, knew that no one was coming, and that he could handle the one-on-one.
Kappa tossed out by Quig. Setting up for the Scorpion. Sleekness want to at least get something to their name. Try and grab an objective, but with Ionic and Sino here, they're not going to comfortably or safely be able to try and take that objective. So that one still will stand. Right side Scorpion is already gone and off the map, so that one will allow for that Fire Giant to spawn in right at that 10-minute mark, as he so rightfully deserves to. Sino, he'll pump forward, but there's 4 members of Sleekness staring him down. Nehu with his Primordial Onslaught. He'll secure the Oracle Harpy, so vision control goes towards Sleekness, even though the Scorpion itself is still the one standing.
Not a huge issue right now for Sleekness, though. The Gold Fury doesn't come up because it's Sturdy Artisans who are in the lead. They might be the ones a little bit more concerned with knocking down that Gold Fury early, because they've got some pretty decent DPS across their team. I think that they would out DPS what Sleekness is able to do in the early stages, and have the better confirm with the Uller confirmed at the exact same time. So with the state of the game and it being a 1,500 gold lead or so for the Sturdy Artisans, maybe it's better for Sleekness to leave that Scorpion up.
Solid power spike online for the Uller. His Transcendence is fully stacked and a nice near 1,800 mana to his name. And well, he's only at level 11, so he'll get a little bit more just via leveling. That has a lot of mana to go through for Uller. Has plenty of abilities that he can spam out. And even if you average out, what, let's say 100 or less mana per ability, in fact, he can throw 17 abilities out there just on his own willy-nilly. Not fun up against Uller in any kind of team fight.
That's before he gets his extra CDR. He's already got 10% from the Transcendence itself, but is going to get 20 more whenever he finishes off a Jotun's Wrath assumed next item. Maybe could go Crusher in that spot, but I think that you'd probably want to just maximize your CDR as early as you can, and whenever you start to get to that point, that's when you really feel like this character is so hard to kill because of his passive reducing cooldowns in his opposite stance, so he can jump away, spam bow abilities, and all of a sudden his jump is back up.
Man, seeing Transcendence kind of just coming back here, and the fact that, you know, so many junglers are picking it up, hunters picking it up, kind of makes me miss the days of Book of Thoth on the mid laners. I mean, we don't see that item hardly at all anymore. Maybe we need a buff Book of Thoth and give it something. That way mid laners pick it up a little bit more, because that item also gives an absurd amount of mana. I think fully stacked up, it's 1,000 mana total that you get from that item. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, Book just when you could go things like Doom Orb first or Chronos Pendant, you know, a lot of mages don't really struggle with mana consumption too much. And if you don't really need the mana and you're just getting power, maybe a little bit less power, a little bit more cooldown is sometimes a trade that these mid laners are willing to make.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like seeing the big number that pops out from it. You do get a lot of damage, a lot of mana, and really the only guy that truly benefits from it super hard is Kukulkan, just because he gets the double dip as passive. So maybe when Kukulkan comes back, we'll get to see it a little bit more. But unfortunately, we don't really get to see a whole lot of Kukulkan. I would have thought that with this patchup, maybe we see a couple more Najas come out of nowhere. Then maybe that encourages some of these other mid laners. But we've been distinctly lacking in Najas as of late.
Yeah, it's talking about Sino gods. Naja is definitely near the forefront of the mind. But there's a reason that not even Sino's playing it, man. I mean, that god just too easy to all-in kill and not nearly as strong in support as he once was, and for good reason, because he was really dominant there for a long time. I think that it makes sense that you know, Naja, not Naja's time right now for the meta, but
one day.
I'm sure one day he'll be back.
One day, whether it be SCC or SPL, probably SPL maybe Captain Twig?
I think Baskin played it earlier today. He was playing jungle.
He did actually play it. We did get to see a little bit there. I don't remember.
He lost that.
Yeah, he didn't have much success, and
no.
Yeah, maybe rightfully so. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I just like seeing Naja play. Naja play is always fun, especially when you have that mage at the bottom end of it. You get a Serpent on wins, you get a Searing Pain right immediately after, and they just 100-0 just like that. It's always fun, but unfortunately, we don't get to see that today.
Sometimes that's how it be, though. You know, that's kind of what the meta mid lane has been about. It's less been about secure mages and more about being able to scrap and scale pretty well into the late game and kill gods more than objectives.
And apply Divine Ruin because of the healer meta that we had emerged for a short while. Though we are seeing significantly less of that healer meta, not seeing nearly as much hell, and maybe not seeing much more Kuzumbo. Gold Fury started, Sleekness steal it away with the snipes out of Dude Man Bro, and the Watery Grave out of Quig, but can they make an escape? Oath cannot, Quig cannot, he gets left on by Pagon. It's 2 kills for Sturdy Artisans in the fight. Nehu being zoned out by Relentless One. The ejector goes to Sleekness, but they also lose 2 lives in the meanwhile.
Yeah, that's still a good play for Sleekness, though. I mean, it's worth losing Quig, certainly. Oath you would rather not lose, who didn't even get his ultimate off, but at the end of the day, you still got that Gold Fury steal away. I mean, I think Sturdy Artisans probably could have started to snowball this game pretty heavily if that objective had been finished by them, but that disruption from Quig on this Kuzumbo, just a little bit too much. Watery Grave, I think, messed up Pagon's secure option.
Gank on this left side. Dude Man Bro in danger. Sino rotates. So, just as quickly as I say he's in danger, he's no longer in danger. Sino not willing to tank up that tower much longer. Dude Man utilizing that tier 1 tower as his primary defense mechanic. He'll be able to walk away. Loses on his Scorpion, but not the end of the world. Gets to keep his life and keep his relics.
I mean, all this being said, though, J-Mac, I mean, Sturdy Artisans, they've got the Chronos. I mean, they've got the biggest late-game threat on the map by a pretty significant margin, and Griff has been under 0 pressure this game. I mean, absolute 0 pressure from Sleekness onto this Chronos so far. And that, if Griff's going to be able to deliver, though he hasn't had his best day at the office, so to speak, if he can do what we expect in the later stages, these marginal leads don't matter much.
You know, I can try and bully Nehu and Quig. He'll get a nice bit of damage against Nehu, but he'll ultimately lose out on taking those Scorpions away. Yannick will now have the opportunity to go back to base and maybe pick up at least the second tier, if not the entirety of that Prim one, but maybe he should have stuck back behind to help Pagon out. It's a full commit dive on the mid laner, and Oath is the one who picks him up. Sino dives in, gets the ultimate against Oath, trying to burst down the assassin, but it's not quite enough. A quick pull in. Griff doesn't show up in time. Oath is able to squeak out. Nehu makes it out, and a rewind from Griff gets him right back in the middle of all of it. Nehu being dove on by the solo laner. Needs another bit after the bat of hell. Not enough damage. Relentless One can't seal the deal either.
Man, that's been the kind of the story of the set at times for the Sturdy Artisans, who just have been just barely short of being able to get some of these kills. First, it's Oath getting away from a sliver of HP from Sino, and then the same for Nehu up against Relentless One, just barely able to hold on to those health bars.
Relentless One now back in solo lane to farm up. Sino and Griff are going for the red buff invade, and they will be successful in stealing that away. Dude Man just has to sit by and watch as it falls to the wayside. Sturdy Artisans, however, even with all this early lead that they established for themselves, they're sitting net even on the gold charts. Experience pretty much similar, if not maybe even slightly more, over towards Sleekness. Relentless One falling down will mean that Sleekness gets a nice extra kill and can maybe try and push the advantage in their favor. 600 gold in favor of Sleekness.
That damage from Oath is no joke, man. I mean, those hi-rez auto cancels, they'll get you racked up in the damage department pretty quickly. And Chronic had a cage that I'm sure Relentless One is thinking, what is this guy doing? I still have my jump. I'm just going to jump out and I'll be A-okay. But it was about forcing that jump and allowing Oath to close that gap easily.
It's now Nehu versus Pagon here, and didn't even really make mention of it. Breastplate of Valor picked up by Nehu, some extra physical defense. What could have potentially been some one-shot out of Pagon earlier on. I think Nehu got hit by a full combo, only did half his health because of the extra protections from it. And that makes sure that Nehu lives up against this heavy physical dive comp between Pagon, Sino, and Relentless. Not much room to breathe for this mid lane Tiamat.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly saved his life, not just against Pagon, but by that dive from Relentless One. And if you're not going to go cooldown in that first slot like so many Tiamat players do, he goes Doom Orb, so heavy power, MP5, but his movement speed, and then he goes for the cooldown later.
Pagon pulled right back in. Ruination is good. Typhoon even better. Good triple stun out of Ionic, but that will not be enough to save Pagon's life. And that one goes to Nehu. He gets credit for the kill, and now all 5 members of Sleekness are here in this middle lane. Relentless a little bit late on his rotation over. He'll be met by Chronic in the jungle. Relentless has to find a path out. He'll leap away, but there's still many members of Sleekness looking towards this tier 1 tower. They may just walk right in and take it.
That jet stream has just become such a problem for Pagon in this mid lane. He just continually gets beat up by it.
Link ult in by Ionic. He'll find everybody with it, and he'll find some decent damage from the roof, but now it's the Typhoon on top of Ionic. Grip picks up Nehu, bat out of hell from Relentless One, and a cage will lock in 3 and lock out 1. Oath is trying to find his way in. He'll be able to get some good damage against Relentless One, but Sino, who's a little worse for wear, he'll be able to walk away. Chronic turns his sights then towards Relentless, a good stun, but the heal comes from the Vampire Bats, but he gets yanked right back in. Good stun from Ionic, gets him in the middle of the wall, and Relentless is going back and forth between these blood pools. Somehow, the Camazotz lives only for a little while longer, and now Sino is right back in with a vengeance, takes down Dude Man, and sets his sights towards Quig. Wall will hold him off. Chronic gets stunned out. Ionic with another credited kill, and Grip, he'll be able to pick up Chronic. All the time stop just off the mark, but Pagon's not. He's back in the fight and ready to go.
What a turnaround from the Sturdy Artisans. I mean, Griff just comes in and does a ton of work in that fight. He did so much player damage. Took care of Nehu. Who cares about the Breastplate of Valor? You've got a Chronos on your side to get the job done. And then Relentless One buys so much time. Ionic is in the right position the entire fight. Just a really well-played fight by the Sturdy Artisans, and they get a nearly clean team wipe up against Sleekness, and now a Fire Giant on 4 of their 5 members.
In less than 19 minutes in, they're able to pick up that Fire Giant gold, while not super high here at 3,000. That experience even sitting just under that 6K. That fight is a nice and hefty showing of what Sturdy Artisans' damage output looks like. Even with all that physical defense, Nehu wasn't able to live out in the middle of that fight. Sleekness, they just kind of fall apart in the midst of it. That so many different target selection. That's kind of been the name of it for both of these teams, really. It's been target selection in the middle of these fights. Early skirmishes, you see targets get split by, but that time Artisans are able to dial in. Ionic, I got to give a lot of credit to Ionic in that fight, not just with the ultimate, but those stuns on point, man.
Yep, every single one was pretty critical there for the Sturdy Artisans. And Ionic has definitely continued to have a very good set up against Sleekness, and after a little Primal Fury, this should be just focused on knocking down some of these towers. I mean, there are a lot of towers still on the map. You've got every tier 2 still standing, only 1 tier 1 gone. So that is plenty of gold Sturdy Artisan should be able to secure.
Sturdy Artisans. They'll go ahead and work on this mid lane tier 1 tower. Maybe just look on some fights. Quick bat out of hell for Relentless will get him away from the ruination out of Nehu. A nice hefty little retreat from Sturdy Artisans. Tier 1 and left side goes down. Maybe even the tier 2 could be an option for them. Forgo that mid lane entirely, and so it'll be Griffin Sino who are able to close that one out nice and evenly. 2,000 more gold in the pockets of the Sturdy Artisans off that last little engagement.
Still feels like the Sturdy Artisans are going to take their time here. I mean, they get to spend a good amount of gold, come back, make sure that their relics are up. That's the big thing in my mind, is that you really just can't afford to let Griff get one shot in this next fight. He's been so important in the one fight that went really well for Sturdy Artisans that you really don't want to let him. What? How did... Was that a bluestone tick from the one? How in the world did Relentless One get that fire?
I don't understand how he could have gotten it, because even the damage from the bats got blocked out. It had to have been a bluestone tick, but Chronic, he's able to walk out.
That's too easy for him.
I mean, that's just another day in the office for Relentless One.
Yeah, too easy for him. That's I mean, it doesn't really matter that much, but it doesn't feel great.
Sino gets yanked in. Typhoon is good. Oath able to at least get a trade out for it, but now Tionic in the back line to Blink Ultimate. The pylon from the Monolith actually body blocks the axe toss out of Pagon. Instead, he'll get hit by the Minotaur, hit by the stun from Nehu, and he'll return some fire right back at him. A tier 1 tower in mid lane goes down. Only tier 2 in mid and right side left standing.
Wig takes a good amount of poke from a little combo. But without a wave, this is going to be a difficult siege. Without their jungler, it'll be even harder.
Tionic, he'll get pushed back, take about half of his health, and then Ankh comes out. Quig pushes 3 away, and his health and his shield will be chunked out instantly. Relentless One going for the kill with the bat out of hell. He wants to close the distance, but now he's been separated and caught out in the middle of 5. Dude Man Bro punishes the solo laner for his greedy aggression, and at least able to take 2 in this fight.
That's a big stuff there from Sleekness, because the gold lead was going to start to get out of hand. I mean, 5,000 gold at 22 minutes is a lot. That is a heavy favorite to win the game, but certainly not a game over by any stretch. And so to be able to get that pick from Oath just makes a good individual play on Sino, wins his 1v1, and then Quig able to bait Relentless One into going a little bit too deep, and you only lose 3 out of your 5 towers. You still have, or no, you only lose 2 out of your 5 towers, it looks like. So you still have, oh no, it was 3, because they got the tier 1 in mid as well. So 3 out of 5, still not bad that you keep up the tier 2s in both mid and solo side.
Then you can turn around and get a tier 1 of your own. So left side tier 1 for Sturdy Artisans goes down. Sleekness is able to close up that gold lead just a little bit, closer to the tune of about 4,000 gold that Sturdy Artisans have over Sleekness. And with the Fire Giant buff wearing off, it'll be set to respawn here in just under a minute. 4,000 gold, 4,000 experience, though those numbers, at least the experience, is starting to matter a little bit less as we get closer towards those level 20s. It's the solo laners who have yet to hit it. Supports, unfortunately for supports, they're almost always the target of never being able to hit that level 20, and then Dude Man Bro closing up that gap, being able to hit 20 in just a moment.
Interested to see if Griff goes for alternate timeline in this game, or if he decides to go with the more traditional option, I would say, in that Pendulum of Ages. But I mean, you do get rewind plus alternate timeline. That is a lot of time that you buy in the midst of a team fight, but I think it's probably better to go elsewhere.
I'm curious how that item actually interacts with Chronos, because like we don't see it very often at all.
Yeah.
Like I think, to my knowledge, Baskin is probably the only player who's picked up alternate timeline. And that was when his team would be super far ahead. He'd use it to dive the Titan, reset himself, and then, all right, cool, I got my one use out of the item was whenever we were ending the game. I don't think we've really seen it outside there. I'm curious how it actually would work with Chrono, especially if he gets a...
I assume if you get timeline procs and then you rewind, you will not rewind to full health. That would be my guess.
That's what I imagine. Is you just rewind back to that quarter health, quarter mana that you get.
Correct.
Off of there.
You just get some seconds of immunity, which is obviously not great. You want to use it the other way, where you rewind first and then get your own timeline procs.
But it is always good as a second option if you can't get your rewind in time. The alternate timeline, now you have a second chance to use it, though probably by the time that you get the opportunity, they'll still be surrounding you and you may still die anyways. But always good backup plan. We'll see if he goes with that or if he goes with, as you said, the more standard Pendulum of Ages. 20% cooldown given by that item is just a lot of extra bang for your buck. We'll see what he gets next time he decides to go back to base to maybe pick that one up.
I wonder, I wonder if he needs defense 6 slot here, because he's a little low on attack speed with this build. a lot more power-oriented. You know, Telkines would certainly feel great for Griff in this game, but I don't know if he feels like he needs defense in order to survive.
We'll get poked. Quig down a quarter of his health, and maybe we'll just throw out some damage with the Primordial Onslaught, but he won't find anything with it. So he'll just throw out the Cyclone against Relentless One, and Relentless One will walk away and laugh as it has no opportunity in the world to even come near him. So it'll just be a quick little retreat by him. And is that a Shifter Shield that I see there on Relentless One?
It is. I mean, that makes sense on Camazotz. You know, you're going to try and poke from a distance with your good power from Shifters, and then whenever you commit and get in there, you get those extra protections. I think that'll probably feel fine for him.
We'll see how it pans out for him. He's also upgraded his Bluestone to its full, and it looks like that is an alternate timeline out of Griff. And he goes back to base and picks it up, so he will have a nice little 6-minute cooldown if that does manage to proc, but it's a second chance to come back in the middle of these fights. Fire Giant started up by the Artisans. Quig and Naylor here. Dude Man Bro does have snipes available, so keep your eyes on the Hunter if that objective does start getting a little bit lower. But Ionic will dive in the back line, getting 3 with his ultimate. He'll get a stun up against Dude Man now. Relentless One up in the sky. Ionic manages to get a kill against Oath. Chronic is holding off 4 in the cage, but now he'll have to retreat as everybody has gotten out of the cage and has now set their sights toward the zone. Relentless One is looking at Dude Man Bro. Dude Man Bro rolls away, but I don't think Quig is going to have that same luxury. Griff stuns him out with the stop time and puts him right in the dirt.
Ionic, again, just makes it happen. Just a big blink engage from this Terra, and just instantly is able to force relics from Nehu, forces Dude Man back, gets the killing blow onto Oath. This Terra ultimate just continues to be a thorn in Sleekness' side. And that Terra ban in Game 2 is starting to make a little bit more sense. It has been dominant here in this Game 3. Earth and Fury just getting that damage off. Plenty of it across the entirety of the team.
And not just that, the extra healing that they got, because Quig, he didn't use that Curse Donk in that last fight. And he
used it.
And there is some anti now. Granted, there is some more anti-heal, but it's weird that there's more anti-heal for a Terra than there was for a Yamoja in that previous matchup. There is a Divine Ruin, a Pestilence, and a Brawler's Beatstick coming out of the Sleekness team to try and answer against it. But that all goes unused in that entirety of that last fight.
Yeah, I didn't see where Quig was. Maybe he wasn't near the Sturdy Artisans whenever that happened. And therefore didn't have an opportunity to really use that Ankh in a significant manner at all, but at least he'll have it up for this next fight around the Phoenixes.
It will be right side Phoenix down, and then Oni Fury does get picked up by Sleekness, so they're at least able to trade out something and try and hold themselves off for just a little bit, but with that right side Phoenix now down, Sturdy Rs can set their sights towards other portions of the map. Now left Phoenix, minions are pushed pretty far up, but those Oni minions will make sure to push those waves a little bit further. Still have that mid-tier 2 tower that they can take and strip the last permanent neutral standing objective off the map, and then maybe start looking to grab some of these Phoenixes.
Yeah, you gotta spread out and deal with these Oni waves. I mean, maybe you can just leave the right side one, but you kind of want your fire wave to be pushing with you to put some pressure on the enemy base, but Sleekness seem to be escorting their Oni wave all the way up that right-hand side, which very common practice in this situation. You're not going to be defending these tier 2s anyways. You're going to be, it's better to just group and push that right-hand side and try and have your wave be as pushed up as possible so that you can buy yourself as much time against these fire waves. It's a lot better than sitting underneath your Phoenix, twiddling your thumbs and waiting for the inevitable.
Will be a 3-2 split. Well, maybe now it's just a 4-1. They'll leave Relentless One by himself here in the mid lane. Oath and Chronic there to both try and deal with him, though putting a very heavy commit to trying to keep this Camazotz at bay. All 5 with the Fire Giant. Grip on the left side of the map. He's going towards that Obsidian Shard. Has the tier 2, so he's got a little bit of extra percent pen. Start working their way up this left side, waiting for the minions to show back up. It's not Enhanced Fire Giant, so they don't have that backdoor protection shred that they normally could have. Try and push it down, so just waiting patiently for either of their waves to step forward.
Yeah, a minute and a half left on this fire, and you see how far back that fire wave is on the right-hand side. Normally you'd start your siege as those waves go into Titan Room, but that's a ways away. So Sturdy Artisans are going to have to pull the trigger a little bit sooner than that, I think.
Pagon, Ionic, and Griff teamed up on the left. Sino bouncing back and forth in the jungle to see which side he wants to commit towards. All relics up for both sides. 10 seconds for Nehu's beads. Maybe that's why Sleekness
well.
is holding off just a little bit, but Sleekness is going to need more than beads. He's going to need some damage protection of his own, and Oath will need a little bit of help too. Sino dives in and picks up one. Sino shoved against the wall, but he's done his job, and so is Ionic. Nehu falls down. Two-man bro low, and the Bat Out of Hell will finish the job. 3 immediately off the board for Sleekness, and they could just close right in on the Titan quick, get stunned out, and burn down. Grip picks up the kill for the Sturdy Artisans, and with 4 down and only the Titan left to try and fight up against it, Sturdy Artisans close out Game 3 in 30 minutes and take Game 3.
Yeah, a little bit of a waiting game there at the end for the Sturdy Artisans to finally pull the trigger, but Sino just decides, hey, I'm going to go in and win my 1v1 real quick, and blinks in and one-shots Oath before he could do anything of value, and makes that team fight much easier for the Artisans.
Yeah, and Ionic just gets to deal with everybody on the left side pretty much. I'm not going to say by himself. He had the team to back him up, but Ionic on this Terra, well, maybe we do see a reason why that was banned away in Game 2, and maybe in future matchups, if you're going up against this player, we do get to see this Terra banned away. Let's take a look at the post-game stats real quick to see kind of where everything broke out, and seeing a 4-0-10 Terra for Ionic. Yeah, I'm going to go with you here and say that we might need to see this god specifically banned away from him.
Yeah, he's had a really good couple of weeks leading up to this LAN, so good momentum builder here for the Sturdy Artisans. They secure their 3rd seed and make sure that they won't have to worry about playing up against that top SOC team, and we will be seeing them at LAN, which is exciting anytime you get to see a Sino team start to try and pop off in that environment.
I mean, just getting to see any kind of LAN matchups. Taking a look at the standings now that this game has concluded, Sturdy Artisans do take that 3rd seed away from Sleekness. Sleekness will have to face off against one of the top SOC teams to try and fight for that wild card spot. With Winter Dogs, Herculean Who's, Sturdy Artisans locked in as your top 3. Even with a loss in their next potential match for the Winter Dogs, not going to matter. They have locked in their 1st seed, and I believe Herculean Hooves are even locked in on their 2nd seed no matter what here. Take a look at the schedule to see what you may have missed today and what we still have ahead of us. Team Joystick and Snake Hunters and Elysium just F6 still kind of trying to fight for I believe their top 2 spots are also dialed in. Not much that can be changed from there. And then Winter Dogs and Average Joes. So most of the big important matches done today, but there are still 3 more SCCs to go through for the rest of our week.
Yeah, trying to end on a good note for those final teams that have yet to play, that will be playing this weekend, because this is the final week of Phase 2 of the regular season for the Smite Challenger Circuit, but of course with that big Phase 2 circuit playoffs looming.
Yeah, these 2 circuit playoffs are going to be huge. I mean, if we're already seeing this level of action just in the SCC rounds leading up to it, I can only imagine how big some of those playoff sets are going to be. It's always been fun to see these playoff matches, and we've even had some upsets in the past. I believe we actually had an SOC team win a couple of phases back, able to pull themselves in, but SCC isn't the only thing that we have available this weekend, Adro. We've got a whole lot going on for this weekend. We've got SCC obviously leading into all of our days prior, but we still have SPL for the rest of the weekend. Should be a good weekend. You definitely want to make sure to tune into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost done with the round robin part of Phase 3 for the Smite Pro League, so definitely want to tune in this week. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah, make sure to tune back in. We'll have SCC tomorrow at 11 a.m., and then right after that, the waiting room, and then at 1 p.m., we kick off week number 4 of the SPL. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for some more SPL action and for the SCC and everything else going around. But that's all that we've got for you today. Thank you all so much for watching on behalf of the Casters Production and everyone else behind the scenes. Thanks so much, and we'll see you tomorrow for the SPL.
Peach it.